spice up your life.
Muga. Deputy President Rigathi Gashagwa is a man on the cross, and the day of reckoning awaits him at the Senate this morning. This is after the High Court in Nairobi yesterday declined to bar the Senate from hearing the impeachment motion against the DP. At exactly 9 a.m. today morning, the senators are required to have all taken their seats at the chambers and will be going for a pre-hearing meeting that will take about 1 hour, according to a schedule released by the clerk. The session, that will be held behind closed doors, will be termed in court terms as a pre-trial hearing. The senators at 10 a.m. will then go into preliminaries that will entail recital of the mandate of the Senate, rules of procedure and hearing program. This will also include introduction of lawmakers representing the National Assembly and their council, Avin, and finally introduction of the Deputy President and his council. But before that, a 3-judge bench of the High Court will this morning at exactly 8 a.m. deliver a ruling on whether the Senate will proceed with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's impeachment. This follows a day-long court battle by Gashagwa's legal team to stop the impeachment proceedings scheduled for today. Yesterday, a 3-judge bench presided over by Justice Eric Ogola and comprising of Justices Anthony Murima and Freda Mugambi listened to an application by Gashagwa's lead counsel, senior counsel Paul Mwite, to halt the impeachment proceedings in the Senate. The bench, empaneled by Chief Justice Martha Koome, consolidated all 6 matters into one, with parties expected to file their submissions by this morning at 8 a.m. And Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka has called the process initiated by the National Assembly to impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua a violation of the Constitution. While being interviewed, he said that he criticized the whole process, saying that it was rushed without fully involving Kenyans despite the seriousness of the issue of actually sacking the Deputy President. Kalonzo has described the charges against Gachagua as absurd, saying he was not given time to defend himself since the start of the process.
One would have expected at every constituency, first of all, people be given enough time to go to their constituency headquarters, and there will be there representative Gachagua to take note, to say, yeah, these ones are voted yes, this one no, but what happened there? And people just literally ticked and go out there and say on the floor of the House, the public participation has agreed with this motion. I call that fraudulent, and I hope the courts will find as such.
Kalonzo instead said that President William Ruto should be the first to be impeached before the motion to fire Gachagua is presented in Parliament. According to him, Kenyans expressed to themselves that they do not need the government of Kenya Kwanza during the participation of the public when they were asked to give their opinions to remove Gachagua from office.
What I think both of them should recognize is the country is looking up to them. This is why they are saying, go home together if you have to. Every time, all the clubs where at night they stop and the DJs saying, Ruto must go. And I was shocked, as I told you, as awarding the winners of the first lot. Then suddenly, an eruption. Ruto must go. I can tell you that shook me.
And Kalonzo further said that he has nothing on and does not support the Adani company process.
Wouldn't know, because when you have a presidential candidate, how they organize their finances normally is all left to themselves. And the running mate, when it comes to fundraising for a presidential campaign, it is different. No idea who Adani is, I've never met him.
And in the international scene, Israeli military strikes killed at least 50 Palestinians across the Gaza Strip as Israeli forces tightened the squeeze around Jabalia in the north of the enclave on Tuesday amid fierce battles with Hamas-led fighters. Palestinian health officials said at least 17 people were killed by Israeli fire near Jabalia, the largest of Gaza's 8 historic refugee camps, while 10 others were killed in Bani Suhaila in eastern Khan Yunis Yunis in the south when an Israeli missile struck a house. Early on Tuesday, an Israeli airstrike destroyed 3 houses in the Sabra suburb of Gaza City, and the local civil emergency service said they recovered 2 bodies from the site, while the search continued for 12 other people who are believed to have been in the houses at the time. That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Hiya, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. I mean, I don't understand. What are they
How
saying?
are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So
See?
Your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of the
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
You tune into Kenya's biggest conversation. My name is Ramanya.
Amen. Amen.
So 1 hour is over?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It gets over
Can you imagine
in 20 minutes.
what the big boys have also done?
I'm very proud of myself.
When you understand about partnership in politics, it's like the way marriage is these days. When you're looking for a wife, you're like, oh, maybe you can help me pay for fees as I pay for the rent.
Why should you have a lioness? When I got to the gate, the lady who was the security, she refused to. She's telling me, no. Leo tunataka wa mama. Leo ni wa mama. I'm telling her, no. She said, no, sio siku yenu. And I thought, there's a problem here, because if it was a man, but this was a lady.
It will be called First Ladies until you change the name.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. Yeah. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked.
But I'll continue saying, hawa watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It won't start.
A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, yenin der, ayu markati kadikta. This character called a liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him, who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And he must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, now you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
No traffic on the road right now. You can imagine it's Wednesday, it's 6 a.m. So what will happen is that the roads that get busy will not yet be busy, but the roads that are usually busy at night, like Landis Road and Wakulima Market area of Haile Selassie Avenue, will be busy. Other than that, let's see how they'll be looking like in about half an hour.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to Wednesday. It's the 16th day of October 2024. How you doing? City Mambo Mbugani?
Mambo mazuri.
Did you have a good day?
I did.
Right.
Yes.
And a good night?
I did.
Very good. Very good. Welcome to Wednesday.
Thank you, sir. And thank you. Welcome to you too to Wednesday. Too.
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Wednesday nakupelekaje?
Imeanza poa.
Naanza vizuri,
eh?
Yes. Cold in the morning, then asubuhi kuna kabaridi, bro. I don't know, man. This
That's early morning chill, eh?
Aki, easy weather. Bana hii weather imeenda mbovu. You can't predict anything. Then in the middle of the, not even middle of the day, by the time it gets around 10, it is so hot. Midday, now that's a completely different story. But it portends. Mvua tu. Mvua iko njiani.
Inakuja. The sun is still rising very early in Nairobi.
Very, very early in the morning.
It's so bright, so early.
If it rises that early in the morning, when you go to the coastal regions, how early then does it rise then?
Very good. A good question. A very good question. All right. So we shall have several conversations today. Let's start with the fact that the Gashagwa impeachment could be heading, I'm saying could be heading to the Senate today. There's a court decision that's expected before that at about 8 a.m. The three judges that are listening to this case said that, they will give a ruling this morning on whether they can halt any proceedings that to take place in the Senate, and then they'll pick it up from there. And if it goes to the Senate and it begins, then it's today and tomorrow. So what happens in all these things? All right.
Let me ask the question. Is it that part of what the court proceedings will produce is whether he should go to the Senate or not?
Yes. That's actually the application is that the Senate should not hear this impeachment.
Okay.
Yeah. Like 26 cases that DP Gashagwa has taken to court in the last 2 weeks. Never stop trying. It's called fighting to the end.
This fight is monumental.
He said, I will fight to the end. We are seeing it. So, Charles Nyachai, who was the chairperson of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, that is a commission that helped to write very many of the laws that brought the Constitution of Kenya to life after 2010, will be joining us at 9 a.m. to look at the constitutionality of impeachment in Kenya. There are very many questions here. For example, in the matter of impeachment of a governor and deputy governor, the Katiba just says these are the grounds for impeaching a governor, and Parliament shall enact a law on the procedure of impeaching a governor. Okay? The Constitution goes to the detail of how to impeach a president. So this one is not left to an act of Parliament.
Nope.
Right? So then, can courts actually quash a constitutional procedure?
That is what we'd like to understand.
Charles Nyachai will be joining us at that time, at 9 a.m. So keep it here for that conversation. At 8 o'clock, we are going to continue a conversation that we began last week. We had invited the general manager for rides at Bolt Kenya to come, Linda Ndongo. She was addressing the issue of pricing last week and told us how they actually calculate pricing. There are various elements that go into it when you order a ride. They calculate things, then they tell you this is a price. How much goes to the driver? 82% of the money that you pay goes to the driver. 18% is what is left to Bolt. She will be back here, Bolt on the hot seat. We'll be talking about passenger safety and some of those driver concerns still. So that's an 8 a.m. conversation. At 7 o'clock, we are going to be joined by the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, CPA John Badi. 50 days in office. He has actually, can you imagine? Just the other day, John Ongongo Badi was
Member of Parliament.
Member of Parliament. Now it's been 50 days in office as a Cabinet Secretary.
Life is like that.
Aye.
Life is like that.
This syllabus is moving too fast, bwana.
This syllabus ni mzuri sana.
Ashakula mshahara karibu kule ya pili.
Yes.
As minister.
Yes.
Hey.
Sio ni mzuri.
Hey. So he'll come at 7 a.m. to talk to us about those 50 days. And of course, we'll be asking the very many things that the National Treasury is doing, and we want to understand his thinking. So these are the conversations today. If you're online, you know what you need to do. Send us salams, and you're saying hello to Eric and City and Lydiah. Say hello to all of us, and also Asha and Avin. You know, wajue kwamba muko online.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
It is feeling cold. It's 16 degrees in Nairobi today. It's going to rise to highs of 27 later. It's sunny in Mombasa at 24, sunny in Malindi at 25, sunny in Kakamega. No, clear skies in Kakamega at 19, partly cloudy in Eldoret at 12, cloudy in Nyeri at 13, clear skies in Nakuru at 15, Kisumu is mostly clear at 21, Kampala cloudy at 18, Kinshasa partly cloudy at 23, Johannesburg cloudy at 9. Now, city if you're in Johannesburg,
Totally.
It's 9 degrees.
Totally.
It's cloudy in Lagos at 25, mostly partly sunny in Mogadishu at 26, sunny in Addis Ababa at 11, sunny in Dar es Salaam at 24, Paris is cloudy at 16, London is cloudy at 15, Beijing is cloudy at 17, and clear skies in New York at 8.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Yes, watu ni wengi wako online. For example, kuna jamaa anaitwa Johnston Asava anasema good morning Spice team. It's a bright Wednesday in Taveta. Salamu kwa Eric City and all. Ndu hajarudi bado? Bado. Martin Morimi, good morning. Christopher Shirao, Bwangi Juma, good morning. Chochote Chaweza Tendeka. Good morning. Hisbon Sidon. Oya Situation Room. Hii wiki ni moto kwa DP. Ni kugwan, kudenja. Kabisa. Kabisa. Gilbert Kimonge watching from Lempala in Finland. And my dad is also watching from Sergoit in Wasingishu. It's indeed home of the great conversations. Yes. Hello to Mze in Sergoit and hello to you, Gilbert, in Finland. Chris Maura, good morning. Bwangi Juma, Margaret Wanjohi, good morning. Godfeka 2009, greetings from New York City. All sane citizens must rise against this evil, backward-facing government. They belong in prison. Hey, Buana, Godfeka. Hey, Buana. Deep State, Dr. Fico, Calvin Zomondi, Davis Well, Weeds, still no Ndu. No, not yet. She's still enjoying her time. Daniel Simit, good morning. Pamela Bilma, The People's Observer. Leo tunaanguka na Rigiji. Deep State, the interview with Willis Otieno was awesome. Aye, that only catch feelings. Nemian Movic, Rafael, Rachel Wanjiro, good morning, Eric and City. There's someone stealing titles, birth certificates. What's next? What? Wachia tu hapo. Eric Kyoko, George Okoh, Agesa Belcher from in Kitengela. Ongana Malala, good morning, Eric City and Lydiah. It's the second week that we're busy with impeachment while the national team plays its home matches in Kampala. Yeah, man. Sam Chelule, good morning. Linus Gitonga, Laban Misiani, Desmond Ortiz, Felix Shihemi, Abraham Kimeli, Dangote Kilonzo, Ian Jomo, Anthony Karanja, Tanoteka, Jack Katambo, Robinson Kisero, Evans Tabo, Dano Mwansa. Good morning, everybody. Karibu sana to Kenya's biggest conversation. City. Third day of Proverbs from the People's Republic of
Algeria. People's Republic of Algeria. There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility.
Ni kuzoeana. There's an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility.
Yep.
Okay, that's a good one.
Inakuwaga hivyo, bro.
Yeah. Watu wamezoeana sana.
Yes, huh?
Wanza kuoneshana madrau.
Yeah, kwa sababu wanajuana vizuri. Basi. Hapo.
Ukiona mtu anakudharau amekuzoea.
Amekuzoea. Vibaya.
Oh yeah, let's look at the headlines on the front page of the Standard. They have the clock ticking, 47, 59, 59, you know, like counting hours, 48 hours to go for the DP to know his fate. In the next 48 hours, the Deputy President will engage in a fight for his political life. That he rose from a one-term MP to the second highest seat in the land is no mean feat. However, he faces a permanent ban from public service should he face senators and fail to convince them to drop his impeachment. Already, new evidence indicates that the National Assembly will go for his jugular, with friends turning 4 hours after the courts okayed the process. Kenyans in the dark of a cost of power after Adani deal. Consumers and manufacturers will have to wait longer to learn the fate of their electricity bills following the controversial 95 billion shilling power transmission deal signed with Adani this week. All right. National news, why Devani could walk in Triton case. Remember there was a case about Triton oil.
I remember it very well.
And there was a guy called Yagnesh Devani.
I remember it very well.
That case has been there for long. The people who were in it left office, went and sought other offices, left those offices. Can you imagine?
Yes, and this gentleman decided to take a dive, went out of the country, stayed out of the country. There were attempts to bring him back. In the end, he came back.
The DPP has applied to the courts to drop the Triton case on grounds that he cannot find witnesses. Should the courts agree with him, the 7.6 billion shilling corruption case will be buried in spite of its heavy toll on Kenyans. Inaenda hivyo. DPP is saying, now how do I prosecute this case if I don't have witnesses? That's it. Ministry pledges to settle NHIF debt. All right. Delegates query Raila on Ruto ties. Delegates of who will tell you shortly. On the front page of the Daily Nation, the fight for his life. DP's options fast dwindling as D-Day looms. A defiant Deputy President Rigathi Gashagwa faces an uphill battle for survival in the Senate as a 3-judge bench appointed by the Chief Justice rules on his last-ditch bid to stop senators from proceeding with the impeachment case against him. Will his efforts bear fruit, or will it be too late? Too little, too late for the DP. Yesterday, Justice Chacha Mwita ruled that even though the court had the jurisdiction to determine the petition, Parliament ought to be allowed to run its course. There should be a delicate balance in respective mandates of different arms of government. Court should strive to achieve the balance and respect what Parliament is constitutionally required to discharge. That is one court. He moved from that Justice Chacha Mwita court, moved straight into this other 3-judge bench of Justices Eric Ogola, Anthony Mrima, and Frida Mugambi. And those are the ones who said, this morning, we are going to give a ruling on whether we're going to halt the Senate proceedings.
I am thinking, what happens if this court says, halt?
Yesterday, the Speaker of the Senate, Amason Kingi, said, nobody can stop Parliament from doing its discharging its duties.
Nobody can stop reggae.
He basically said, bring a court order, we don't care.
That sort of attitude is really not good.
Yep.
That one, Nimbaya, this man is a lawyer, and he should know, surely. Because then you're setting a precedent. Yes, and now, umeleta vita.
Well, that precedent has been said before. There was a court or trial. There was a trial of some sort of injunction against the impeachment of Kericho governor.
Yes.
Senate still went ahead and started the process.
Yes.
Yep. So, court order na serikali.
Hiyo tumejua. Serikali exists today. Yani, hii separation of powers, wamesema you go and separate yourself.
Yeah, you separate yourself.
Ukiona hiyo ndio mzuri na wewe, ni sawa tu.
The story of NHIF bills is also in the Daily Nation. The government has committed to settling the 30 billion shillings owed to hospitals by the defunct NHIF as part of the ongoing transition to SHIF. That's according to Health PS Harry Kimtai. 30 billion shillings that NHIF owes hospitals. Jesus Christ. University dons tough to strike over pay. Public university workers yesterday issued a strike notice accusing the government of failing to honor the return to work formula signed last month, September 26th. Hi. The University Academic Staff Union and the Kenya University Staff Union said that the government failed to meet its side of the bargain, leaving them feeling cheated. They signed a return to work formula towards the end of the month. Right? 10 days into the new month, they're like, surely we're going back on strike. Parliament, lawmakers seek the extension of boundary review timelines. Court rejects DPP's bid to withdraw 7.6 billion shilling graft case against Devani. Okay. And Survivor Tales, breast cancer redefined our motherhood journey. This is on the parenting side of the paper. City, Business Daily and the Star.
Right. Top right-hand corner in Till Green, hearing concludes. This is a story of, remember there was a young man who it was reported belonged to people who are often referred to LGBTQ, if I may add an I to it. Chiloba. That was in Eldoret.
Yeah.
And
the one who was brutally murdered.
Yes. Now the person who was considered to be chief suspect, a gentleman called Odhiambo, and he was in court yesterday, and they were hearing, and they were saying, this guy needs to explain. So Jackton Odhiambo was giving his bit of the story. He says, I fainted for 2 hours on learning about Chiloba's death.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And the story goes on further to say that these two were in a romantic relationship. Yes.
I'd seen an earlier story last week in which you were saying that he is not homosexual.
According to what he's saying here, he states,
I am straight.
He states that he is a friend. They were very good friends. But other witnesses say, no, those people are inseparable. It is clear their relationship. Now that story continues.
Okay.
Speculation of Kangata becoming DP grows after governor meets 30 MPs. Okay? Kenya and conspiracies. Yani, everybody is going to be deputy here. MPs scuttle plans to create opposition jobs for Kalonzo and other Azimio bigwigs. That's an article report, okay? Politics. ODM not in government will field candidate run against Ruto in 2027, say party chiefs. Skeyo. Don't mistake. Lending a helping hand is not joining the party. Please understand.
We're just giving you experts.
We're giving you experts. Yes. All right? Bang in the middle of the paper. New evidence. DP has, however, told the Senate he does not own the property. Ikidun is serious. Gashagwa bought Brothers Lavish Hotel. Witness, Jomo Mushira confesses that Rigathi used him to acquire Olive Gardens Hotel. Sasa hii mambo. Watu wanapanga vitu vizuri.
So now he has come out to say, actually he told me we buy it.
Ile ukweli hiyo hotel is yangu.
He told me we buy it.
We buy it and I use my name to buy. That's what he told me. Bana.
I wonder though, did the family know?
I don't know. And will we really know what they knew?
The beneficiaries of the estate, did they know? Are they finding some details? Finding some details now.
The thing is, these waters are already muddied. So getting to know what is what is tricky.
Horrible.
It's tricky.
Horrible.
Because a lot of things that have happened now are being revised. Okay? Perspectives being given that didn't exist before. But anyway, it will unfold as time goes on. Right. Treasury return. This is the Business Daily. Treasury returns to switch bonds to ease debt pressure. The Treasury has published a calendar showing its planned issuance of debt securities, revealing the return of switch bonds to address refinancing. I've read it. I don't understand a thing that I've just read.
They are returning to switch bonds.
Yeah, let's just continue with the story. Okay, those who understand, please understand on my behalf. Casual workers hardest hit by layoffs. A new survey on trends in Kenya job market shows that 1 in 4 companies has fired permanent employees this year. Okay?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, this is the reality of the economy of this wonderful country called Kenya. Mystery buyer snaps up Tuju's restaurants.
Yeah.
Remember, the court told him, you, my friend, sorry. Remember that particular property was sold for 450 million. Unakumbuka? A mystery buyer's 450 million bid was enough to take away former cabinet secretary Tuju's prime property over a defaulted loan from East African Development Bank. Okay?
It's a beautiful place, man.
Oh, that place is beautiful.
Dari Hotel.
That place is beautiful, beautiful.
7 acres, bwana.
Greenery.
Where is money when you need it?
Iko na wengine. But let it just twange tu journey itatufikia. In due course itatufikia tu. Let just do the rounds, whatever it's doing the rounds. Itafika tu.
Itatupata hapa juu ama tutakuwa tumeenda chini.
But itakuwa tu kama bado tuko high.
Okay.
Tukienda chini we will not have use for it, so we want to discuss it.
Exactly.
Ni sasa tu. Dow my friend. Dow CSD grows securities trading accounts by 112%. The CBK's over-the-counter trading platform, that's what is dubbed Dow, as in Dow, DHOW, Dow CSD, lifted the number of accounts trading in state securities, okay, by 112% to 95. Okay, the 112% represents 95,178. Okay, accounts.
All right.
Okay, as of August 31. This one at least I understand.
All right.
All right. Then back in the middle of the paper. No. Before we go to the middle of the paper, Watchdog probes Coca-Cola for anti-competitive behavior.
Allah.
Sasa. COMESA Competitive Commission. Sorry, not competitive. COMESA Competition Commission. Leo nimeamka. Sawa. Now bang in the middle of the paper. Why Adani's power tariffs for home remains a secret. Ketraco terms calls for charges disclosure premature. Nyinyi wacheni kuleta fujo. We will tell you when we think it's appropriate for you to know. Okay? Yes, wacheni yo mambo. Expected annual revenues from deal put at 21.2 billion. Msikia hiyo? Kenyan authorities yesterday failed to reveal the proposed tariff that India's Adani Group will charge households and firms for building high voltage power lines, falling short of the legal requirements for full disclosure. Sawa?
Kabisa.
Iyo ni bang in the middle of the paper.
Sawa.
Asante.
Let me tell you what's in the Taifa Leo. Remember there was a pastor, Pius Moiro.
I remember.
Yeah?
I remember Pius Moiro.
Alikuwa anasema kuna nuru gizani.
Yes, the man even stood for president.
Yes.
I liked that man's messages.
You did, eh?
I did. I used to listen to him. Yes.
He's still active though, I think.
Yeah, but that presidency thing did a thing on him.
Ilimvunja moyo.
Ilifanya something.
Mwambie apige moyo, piga moyo konde.
Asiwe na wasiwasi.
Wakati wa Bwana.
Yes.
Haya, let me tell you what's in the big law of the Taifa Leo. Gashagwa aona giza tena. Naibu Rais Rigathi Gashagwa jana alishindwa tena jaribio lake la 26th la kutaka kuzima mchakato unaoendelea wa kumuondoa madarakani ilipokataliwa na koti. Mahakama Kuu jijini Nairobi ilikataa ombi la Bwana Gashagwa la kuzuia seneti kutojadili mchakato wa kumngatua mamlakani kuanzia leo. Haya yote yakijiri, maseneta nao waiga wabunge wasusia vikao kujadili miswada inayoathiri raia moja kwa moja. Yesterday, Senate had to adjourn because of what? Lack of quorum. The day before yesterday, Senate was full. They were voting on the matter of impeachment of Kericho's governor. Today, watch the Senate.
I'm watching the Senate just like I am watching the 3-judge bench. Here, I am eagerly waiting with bated breath.
Imagine.
Yes, because hii drama is far from over.
Sasa kuna spika wa Nyamira anaitwa Enoch Okera apinga kutumuliwa kwake na madiwani. Spika kotini kupinga MCA kumtimua. There was drama, I saw the video. MCAs, they went and moved the speaker, put him into his car. Go away. Go.
Akamleta shida gani huo?
Sasa sijui.
Mzozo ilikuwa ni jua nini?
Sijui. The People Daily, Kenyan man jailed for 40 years in the US for assaulting son. 40 years for assaulting his son.
How old is that son?
I don't know. It's in the People Daily. We'll look for it. Principals raise cash fears over KCSE exams. Oh my goodness, it continues. And bang in the middle of the paper daily. Inside Ruto's plot to replace Gashagwa. Plans afoot to convene a special house sitting as early as Friday to consider Deputy President's successor in the likely event the Senate finds him guilty and endorses his impeachment. As in, the National Assembly could be recalled on Friday. And the Speaker will say, I have received a name from the President nominating so-and-so as the next Deputy President. We are going to start the process of vetting the candidate. Can you imagine? It is 24 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at the traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Traffic gani? Hakuna traffic. Well, there is some building up on Thika Superhighway, but not so bad. It just goes up to Survey. The Kiambu Road side is looking all right. Mombasa Road into town is looking okay. North Airport Road is only busy around Outer Ring Road, and Eastern Bypass is fine. Mombasa Road all the way is fine. Uhuru Highway is okay. Langata Road is okay. Ngong Road is okay. Westlands to town is fine. James Geshuru is fine. Lower Kabet is okay. Limuru Road is fine. They're all looking okay. Even Juja Road is looking okay.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Someone has commented that if you just look at how old this Devani case, Triton case is, if you subtracted those years from you, you'd be back to a teenager.
Me? Not possible.
Can you imagine?
It's not possible.
The Director of Public Prosecution, Renson Ingonga, now intends to withdraw the 7.6 billion shilling corruption case against businessman Yagnesh Devani and his firm Triton Petroleum Company Limited. Ingonga yesterday made an oral application to the Anti-Corruption Court Magistrate Harrison Barasa, asking him to terminate the case on claims that he had encountered some difficulties in tracing witnesses. Through State Counsel Eliphaz Ombati, Ingonga said some witnesses had died, while others could not be traced. Ombati applied to have the case dropped just a few months after the DPP recommended Devani's prosecution. Devani was arraigned in Nairobi following his repatriation from the UK, where he had sought refuge after 16 years on the run. I urge this court to withdraw the case against accused persons, as the prosecution has experienced difficulties in tracing witnesses, as some have since died. Devani's lawyers, of course, did not oppose that application. They were like, we have no objection at all, Your Honor. However, in a brief ruling, the magistrate declined to grant the Ombati oral request, but instead ordered the DPP to file a substantive application together with affidavits in support of the petition. In his ruling, the magistrate said the matter was of great public interest and could not be withdrawn without good reason.
Good for you. Good for you.
However, the magistrate allowed a plea by Devani to have his passport released to him to enable him to travel outside the country for business. You want to travel? It's okay, just go. The case will be mentioned on October 22nd to confirm compliance with the magistrate direction to the DPP to file a formal application seeking to terminate the case. Now, what is the case? In the corruption case, Devani and Triton Petroleum Company Limited are accused of fraudulently releasing 126 million litres of oil, violating a collateral financing agreement with the Emirates National Oil Company of Singapore. The businessman faces 11 counts of fraud, including conspiracy to defraud, obtaining by false pretenses, and the fraudulent disposition of mortgaged goods. On the key allegations against Devani is that on September 5th, 2008, while serving as managing director of Triton, he, along with others, disposed of the 13 million cubic meters of diesel valued at approximately 32 million for $10 million, 32 million liters to Total Kenya Limited without the consent of the company that was selling. That's the Emirates National Oil Company. He's out on a 5 million shilling cash bail.
5 million? 5 million?
Cash bail.
Hata kama ni check bail.
5 million pesa mingi bwana.
No. Case ni pesa mingi.
Yeah, but just bail. Si nini?
No. Bail must be kuna.
Cash bail 5 million. Deposit your passport here. Stay here.
No, you're 5 million. That's lenient.
You'd have given him how much?
50 like this.
50 million cash bail.
Yes. Ile pesa yote ambayo inatajwa katika hii kesi. Aende tafute 50 aweke.
But here's the thing now. The case is that old, 2008. The DPP says, so this man was on the run for a while. We sought his repatriation from the UK. He was brought back here. Okay? Now he's here. I ordered, let's go ahead and prosecute him. Now I'm looking for witnesses. I can't find witnesses.
Yes, but given how long this
Some
case
witnesses
has taken,
have died.
Where are you going to find the witnesses?
But it's just the other day. See, you are still here, you in this country.
Yeah, no, me, I'm still
2008
here.
is just the other day.
I am still here, but my friend.
How is it possible that that the only people who would know matters of Triton are unavailable or dead?
We've seen this before in this country, so it's not new. Witnesses disappearing, witnesses not there, witnesses dying. When is this new? Look, if the witnesses were willing and they are unwilling now, they're not available. They may be alive, but they are not willing. And with time, human memory is tricky. Something which you knew as a certainty in 2008, right now it's hazy. You're not even sure. In fact, you're not even sure if this is the same. At Devani, this one. The Devani I knew was not this one.
The guy looked different.
It's different. This guy is short. That guy was tall. Yes. Are you sure? No. Chief.
This is what happens with these cases.
Yes.
A case drags on and then it just starts dying. Like old skin.
It dies. It withers. And the thing is this. Other things happen over time which are considered to be more important. There are very many people who have no idea when they talk about the Triton case. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. 2008 is a long time.
My friend, that is 16 years ago.
Yeah.
16 years ago.
The Minister for Energy was Kraito.
Yes.
Man has gone ahead to become a senator, to become a governor, to retire, to become a happy ambassador.
Yes. and has gone back to teaching.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine.
You tell me all those things. It's a lifetime.
It's a long time. Long time. Tell us a story.
Okay. Sawa. Mimi, nataka tu niangalie Daily Nation pia you. This story interests me. University of Nairobi Council dismisses Kiama. The University of Nairobi Council says suspended Vice Chancellor Stephen Kiama has been dismissed. In an October 14th letter, Council Chairman Okoh Anangwe said Professor Kiama's services were terminated on September 27th. The Council wishes to inform the university community that Professor Stephen Gitahi Kiama's services as an employee of the University of Nairobi were terminated effective September 27th, 2024. Reasons for his termination were promptly communicated to him. That is a quotation. The letter signed by Professor Anangwe reads, Professor Kiama and the council have been on the collision path for more than a year. His contract was to end next year. This is against the backdrop of another strike.
What has Kiama done? I mean, Kiama has not had a single peaceful day since his appointment as VC, has he?
No, he hasn't.
He's been suspended. He comes out and says, no, I have not been suspended. You have been suspended. No. Okay. Yeah. Now he's been told, you have been fired. Let's wait and hear from him. I have not been fired. You cannot fire me.
When I've inquired from people I know and people who understand the goings-on of the university, after listening to more than one person, this is what I surmised must be an issue. Who else wants his job?
Okay. And why so badly?
And why? Not only is it badly, how long has this person wanted that job? And who is supporting who? Who are Kiama's backers? Who supports Kiama for because you have to have someone who supports you. And the person who perhaps wants his job or the people who want his job, are their backers more powerful than Kiama's? That is a sum total of it. So anything else that you're going to hear, oh, he did this, he did this, we had agreed on this, he didn't do. It may all be true, but that is not the reason why we're having this problem. Kiama has not had a day of rest.
Yeah. From the moment Kiama was announced as the VC of the University of Nairobi,
he has not rested.
It's just been he says, you know what, we need to close some of these colleges. They don't make commercial sense.
You want to sack people. But you know what he was saying is something that any smart VC or university council should understand. Man, it isn't difficult to understand. You have a course and there are hardly any people attending it. Surely, of what use is that course? People speak with their feet in such matters. If there are enough applicants for that particular course, it makes sense.
What?
How do you have full classes and others you have 2 people?
Yeah. What?
Anyway, there is another strike looming. Yep, WASU and KUSU issued notice. The government accused of failing to honor the agreement signed 2 weeks ago. Okay? So
what was the deal? What had they agreed? Because it was just last month.
Yep.
A few, 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. There was an issue of an increment.
Yes.
They signed an agreement in September, okay? And there was an increment.
They agreed that there was going to be some certain percentages.
7 to 10%.
Yeah, on the various job groups.
In the October pay.
So it was to reflect this. You're signing an agreement on the 26th. It is to reflect in the October pay.
Yes, that's what
October pay means it comes at the end of October.
It does.
Okay. That means pay slips are issued from the 20th of October.
Yes.
So why are they on strike now? Why are they threatening to go on strike? It's the 10th.
It's looming.
Yeah, but what do they know? It's only the 10th, surely.
Well, I think the war.
They're
beating the war drums early. And according to them, they're saying that their members expect the salaries next week. So I can only assume that these people are paid on the 25th. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes. But again, if you ask me, what we are seeing is a situation where mistrust is what is playing out.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with what is happening now. It has to do with the past where promises have been made and have not been fulfilled. So they're preempting it and saying, we're telling you in advance, this is what we want. Okay? Now, whether that will work, we will see.
There's theft going on. Remember there was a theft of from the government printers, templates, for printing of title deeds, and so on and so forth. Now, 2 desktop computers containing crucial civil registration data was stolen in a break-in incident in which 900 birth certificates were stolen at the Mutomo Civil Registration Office in Kitui County. Do you want me to repeat? I might just continue.
No, continue.
Detectives investigating the matter yesterday told the nation that they were pursuing the possibility of collusion among staff. It remains unclear how the thieves broke into the offices and made away with the computers and the 9 booklets with 100 birth certificates each. Yet the compound housing several government offices, including the Mutomo Deputy County Commissioner's office, has round-the-clock police security. According to Mutomo Sub-County Police Commander Patrick Kafulo, the break-in happened on the night of September 12th and was discovered by staff who reported for duty the following morning. He said several people, including cleaners and the office staff, have recorded statements, but no arrests have been made. Even though the government has cancelled the booklets, we want to establish the motive and recover the stolen items. A birth certificate is a primary document that proves one is a Kenyan. Fears that the stolen equipment and the birth registration booklets may have landed in wrong hands with ulterior motives of registration of illegal immigrants prompted the Ministry of Interior through the State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services to declare them cancelled. What was this? Someone goes and they went specifically for this. No other office was broken into. They went, they took the booklets with the birth certificates.
Order alikuwa amepewa mahali. Sasa yeye alienda to procure.
Yes.
Yeah.
900 birth certificates.
Which means the people who needed birth certificates.
Which means that it's also possible that this guy just took too many.
Yes. It's possible that people have been taking, but you couldn't notice.
Yeah.
Because they're 2, 3, 2, 3, 2,
just
3.
Yeah, even two.
He decided to go wholesale.
Jesus.
See, the opportunity presented itself.
Take the whole thing.
This thing of going every week, just go for the whole year.
It could also actually just think about it, CT. It could be the other way around.
Yeah.
That actually the thief is a whistleblower.
It is possible.
All right?
It is possible.
So he has stolen the 900 to bring the matter to light that these things get stolen.
That, my friend, is a very interesting perspective.
From this point on, these things will be looked at very, very keenly. So he has basically stopped the cartel. Maybe he knew there's a racket that goes on here to steal. Haya, tuendelee.
Do you know that there's going to be a reggae peace concert on Saturday?
Reggae peace concert.
Yes. I'm looking at the star. Yes. And I'm looking at a picture of the Jamaican reggae superstar Glenn Washington at KICC with the KICC marketing director Geoffrey Thande. Okay? This is ahead of the Africa-bound reggae Summerfest and peace concert on Saturday.
Glenn Washington
is
in town.
Glenn Washington akomjini baba ameingia.
And the concert is this Saturday.
It's this Saturday.
Ahead of Mashujaa.
Yes, people who love reggae, I think, are spinning. Yani hii itakuwa fiti. If they'll permit me, itakuwa aire.
Wameamua.
Kabisa. Sio ni sawa kabisa? All right. I'm not going to talk about Gashagwa.
Don't.
No.
There are very many other stories.
Yeah, I'm looking
for example, let me tell you, I have a story here that the principal secretary for medical services has actually said the government has committed to settling the 30 billion shillings owed to hospitals by the defunct NHIF as part of the ongoing transition to SHIF. This move is considered a crucial step to maintain these facilities' trust and cooperation under SHIF. Already 1.5 billion was paid last week, with plans to disburse an additional 3 billion shillings this week. The remaining payments will be made progressively based on the availability of funds. Where are the funds?
Based on the availability. The funds are not they are not available at the moment.
So, okay, listen. NHIF funds were contributions from members.
The members?
Members, let's start with all salaried employees, including government employees.
What?
Okay?
Yes.
So we've been contributing.
We have. Even now.
Even the university people who are deducted, it should be going there.
Yes.
So, by the time NHIF was closing shop on the 30th of September, how much money did it have in its accounts? Because you can see it had a debt of 30 billion shillings. Walikuwa na pesa ngapi?
Because people were still paying monthly.
Walikuwa na pesa ngapi? Now, this 30 billion shillings that the government is committing to pay, where will it be paying from?
Who are they paying to?
No. Where will they be getting the money from?
I don't know.
The government cannot be coming to the taxpayers, to the consolidated fund to take 30 billion shillings.
Oh, they can.
Why?
The point is,
why?
They have announced ahead of time and take this as public participation. They have told you.
Pesa ya NHIF ni pesa ya members.
Members ndio NHIF.
Yes.
Pesa ya NHIF ni pesa ya members contribution.
Na member here, taxpayer, you can't now just go and start taking taxpayers' money to go and pay some 30 billion shillings to hospitals that you are settling debt. 30 billion shillings. 30 billion shillings.
So we were told yesterday what a billion could do.
Yeah, 30 billion
multiply that by 30.
If you're saying that this thing has collapsed and it has gone under with 30 billion shillings, that now the taxpayer has to pay, you've got to justify. Why are we taking over a debt of 30 billion shillings as taxpayers?
I think the conversation is intended to quieten whatever hoo-ha that has already begun about this matter of NHIF and SHIF and SHA.
Yeah.
Yes. So say, okay, tufunge maneno, the government is going to pay. You see, it should not be forgotten. It is the same people who have already paid NHIF subscriptions. It is again now their taxes, the tax money which they have paid the government is going to be used to pay for something which in essence they've already paid for.
Unless we are saying, let's look back at which members had not made their contributions. The government is an employer, which is a big contributor to NHIF. Has the government been diligently paying its remitting dues to NHIF?
You've taken the words out of my mouth because that is the problem. The problem isn't, you see, it's deducted from your pay.
Yes.
It's not as though you have a say.
Unless now the PS comes out and says the government owed NHIF 30 billion shillings, then the government is going to pay NHIF 30 billion shilling. This is coming from what we know very well. It is coming from salaries of its employees. It had not been remitted. We are going to remit. Anything short of that, Ati come and now say that we are taking over the debts of NHIF.
Now you've given them the idea. They are going to tell you it is your contribution which they are not remitted. You're in sour too. So let's take the view that is the case, shall we?
Okay.
Right. MPs scuttle plans to assign Kalonzo and bigwig offices cite constitution. Committee says proposed officers must be clearly defined and subjected to a constitutional referendum. What am I talking about? MPs have shot down a proposal for the creation of the office of the leader of the opposition and 2 deputies. That is the story, okay? The proposal could have seen Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka and other Azimio bigwigs get funding from the Exchequer after former ODM leader Raila Odinga shifted his attention to the Africa Union Commission's top job. Sawa?
So we can't give it to Kalonzo?
Constitution. They can give it. They can give it, please.
When these guys were sitting in NATCO at Bomas and going to Machakos County and writing their report and saying we recommend,
agreeing and disagreeing.
Had they thought about the Constitution?
Yes, they had thought of it. At that time, the Constitution allowed for it. Right now, when we're looking at it, the Constitution will not allow. Have you understood? Yes.
I remember the memo that was written by the President in December 2022 to the speakers of the National Assembly and I think the Senate. I think it was both, I think. And the President proposed creating an office of the leader of official opposition.
Yes.
To be, just somewhere in the structures of the national executive. So it doesn't have to be at a constitutional office. We go to a referendum. It's just, let's create this office. We shall put it under somewhere in the executive. Shall be an executive office. And we just create it. If we all agree, we can do that. And then Parliament shall decide who sits in that office and we'll send them to that office.
Quick.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the idea then by President Ruto. Even when they were going to Bomas and discussing this thing, yes, that was the proposal. Because this proposal for official leader of opposition was the Kenya Kwanza side's proposal. Their proposal was not a constitutional amendment.
Nope.
When they went to write this report and they agreed, so our things we brought to the table include official blah 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 blah. Musiguze mulima, cost of living ni mulima. Usiguze mulima, hiyo ni kazi ya serikali. And ODM were like, no, we have to touch mulima. And people like Wamalo refused to sign that report. The agreement was, we'll create this car office. Now, Gen Z have helped them. They don't need the office. Nisawa, broad base.
Let me tell you this.
Nisawa too.
That office is not going to be created.
Okay?
Amanda.
No wonder Kalonzo is talking so saltily.
They should have given, this thing, but this fight isn't over yet. Please bear in mind, it's not yet over. It's not yet over. Yes.
Bado mapambano.
Bado mapambano, brother.
Aye.
Kenya will host the inaugural Kenya Anti-Financial Crime Summit, bringing together industry experts to discuss the implication of Kenya's recent grey listing by the Financial Action Task Force, FATF. Kenya to chart way forward of grey list at Nairobi meet. Okay? This, I think, is a good thing. Let us see how they will discuss it, and let us see how they will come up with solutions as to how this matter can be dealt with in a manner that will benefit the country.
Okay.
Yeah, sawa?
Yeah.
You're here.
There's a pullout, well, not a pullout, but an inside magazine in the Business Daily today, page 9. Intelligence, Kenya's economy on the right trajectory. We need to continue the tight macroeconomic stance while charting a path to inclusive productivity-led growth. There is hope in the horizon for those without sight of the most recent consumer index as released by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The statement may sound odd, particularly considering that the report for the first quarter indicates the economy only expanded by 5%. But there is hope. These are not my words. These are the words of John Badi. He is the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury. This piece is written in the Business Daily today. He's joining us in the next 10 seconds or so to come and tell us more about this. He's been in office for 5 months. What has he seen? He's saying there's hope in the horizon. He will show us that light that he's seeing. It's 7 a.m. Keep it here.
Spice up your life.
It's now 7 o'clock with Safaricom. Go monthly with an all-in-one bundle and enjoy convenience and value with Safaricom. For just 2,000 bob a month, enjoy 17 GB data, 1,000 minutes, 2,000 SMSs, and free WhatsApp. Go monthly. Dial star 544 hash and select Go monthly. Safaricom is for you.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Lea Ubaga. Kenya's best legal minds will today contest in the Senate in the impeachment trial of Deputy President Rigathi Gashagwa, who's accused of abuse of office and insubordination. Senior counsel and Siaya Governor James Orengo will lead a team of 14 lawyers who will be arguing for the removal of the DP. The team arguing for the DP's acquittal is led by senior counsel Paul Mwite in what promises to be a titanic legal and political battle. Gashagwa, who is at odds with President William Ruto, faces 11 charges, including gross violation of the Constitution, gross misconduct and abuse of office. Last week, 282 MPs voted to impeach him, setting the stage for his trial in the Senate. However, Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has criticized the National Assembly, terming it unconstitutional and unfit to initiate impeachment proceedings against the Deputy President. Speaking at a local TV station, Kalonzo argued that the Parliament had effectively been impeached by the people following the June 2024 anti-government protests, during which Gen Z demonstrators stormed the House.
One would have expected at every constituency, first of all, people be given enough time to go to their constituency headquarters, and there will be there representative Gashagwa to take note. You say, yeah, these ones are voted yes, this one no, but what happened there? And people just literally ticked and go out there and say on the floor of the House that public participation has agreed with this motion. I call that fraudulent, and I hope the courts will find as such.
Musyoka further said that President William Ruto should have been the first to be impeached long before the motion to remove his deputy from office was tabled in Parliament.
What I think both of them should recognize is the country is looking up to them. This is why they are saying, go home together if you have to. Every time all the clubs where at night they stop and the DJs saying Ruto must go. And I was shocked, as I told you, as awarding the winners of the first lot. Then suddenly, an eruption. Ruto must go. I can tell you that shook me.
The University of Nairobi Council has announced the termination of Vice-Chancellor Professor Stephen Kiama's tenure. Council Chair Professor Amukoa Anangwe said that Kiama's services as an employee of the university were terminated effective September 27th. He did not divulge the reasons behind the termination of Kiama's tenure of service, but stated that reasons for his termination were promptly communicated to him. Kiama was appointed the UN VC on January 5th, 2020 on a 5-year term, taking over from Professor Isaac Mbeche, who'd been serving as VC in an acting capacity since July 2019 when Professor Peter Mbithi was sent on compulsory leave. Senate Speaker Amason Kingi has asked Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja to arrest and present Isiolo Governor Abdi Ibrahim Guyo before respective House committees where he has failed to honour summons. The Speaker highlighted more than 6 times the county boss had ignored a Senate summons with no apologies, calling for the intervention of the police IG to compel the governor to obey the law. Senator Kingi cited the constitutional requirements for all public officers to heed calls by the Senate as an oversight body, understating that it was mandatory for holders of public office to honour the summons for purposes of accountability to the people.
Honourable Senators, in light of this, I therefore guide all committees which had issued summons to the Governor of Isiolo to appear, and in which the Governor failed to appear, to liaise with the Inspector of Police as a matter of urgency, and require the Inspector General of Police to produce the Governor before the respective committees at a determined date and time.
And in the international scene, That is, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he was opposed to agreeing to a unilateral ceasefire in Lebanon during a call with French President Emmanuel Macron, according to a statement released by his office. Netanyahu and the Israeli military have repeatedly insisted that there must be a buffer zone along Israel's northern border with Lebanon, where there is no presence of Lebanese Hezbollah fighters. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
So it's 7 a.m. So traffic is starting to build up now in various parts of the city as you head towards town. Mombasa Road heading towards town. It's busy at Imara Daima, and then it starts picking up there from when you get to the Bunyala roundabout and Nyayo Stadium roundabout. And North Airport Road is busy as you get to City Cabanas. Outer Ring Road is okay. Kangundo Road is busy as you get into Outer Ring Road. Thika Superhighway, it stretches all the way to Outer Ring Road Junction. Kembu Road is also stretching all the way to Muthaiga. On the way from Westlands to town, it starts picking up at the entrance to the Nairobi Expressway as usual. Ngong Road towards town, busy at the lights. Langata Road towards town, busy at T-Mall Junction. And then also at Aerodrome Road. Jogoo Road towards town, busy at the usual places. And then we also know Juja Road towards town. Actually, it's looking quite clear this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
7 minutes after 7. Thank you very much for keeping it locked on the Situation Room. This is on SpiceFM, on YouTube, on Facebook, and X, and TikTok, where we're live every weekday morning, broadcasting from Nairobi to the world, wherever you're tuned in. Our guest is in the studio, and he'll be leaving slightly earlier because he has another engagement. But the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, John Badi, is here. Good morning, Waziri.
Morning. How are you?
Hey, salama kabisa.
Yeah,
How are you doing?
No, today I'm doing well. Today I've come back here as a member of the executive, not legislative. And thank you. It has been a while. Yeah?
Yes.
I was supposed to come some other time.
Yes.
But unfortunately, I lost my voice and I couldn't make it. My apologies.
Pole.
Yes.
But karibu sana today.
Asante sana.
This one's going to be like a quick fire one, but then we'll have another one in coming days.
No worries.
It's been how many days since you were sworn into office?
It has been. I've been counting the working days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I don't work over the weekend, but if I work, it's very short, maybe on Sundays.
Yeah.
So working days, today is the 48th day. In terms of working day, my 50th day should have been on 18th, which is 2 days away from today. But I chose that I probably give some brief on what has been happening in the past 50 days. So today I will be addressing the media to just highlight a few things that we have implemented since I assumed office. I am alive to the fact that many people usually talk about 100 days, but you see, we came in to the cabinet at extraordinary times, and people want quick results. So I need to be engaging and communicating to Kenyans because that is very, very important. One of the things that I promised when I got to the ministry was to make it more open, more transparent, and to communicate. Because all that we do is we do in trust, that the power has been delegated to us. So we must make sure that we give feedback to the people who have delegated the power to us.
Very good.
Yeah.
We'll get into that shortly. CT will welcome you with the day's proverb.
Yes.
This week the proverbs are from?
The People's Democratic Republic of Algeria.
All right. Wow.
Yes. There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility.
There's an excess
of familiarity at the root of all hostility. That's what the Algerians say.
They say familiarity begets
contempt.
Yeah, so it's not far from the truth. That is true. Yeah.
Kuzoeana.
Mnaanza sasa mambo ingine.
Kuzoeana sana.
In all aspects of life. Unfortunately. Yes.
So in those 50 days, Waziri,
yes,
what rot did you find in the National Treasury?
What rot? You know, first, I want to be very clear that when I was getting to the Treasury, I knew what I was getting into. I have interacted with the Treasury for quite some time, over 15 years, as a member of the Budget and Appropriations Committee in the National Assembly. I will tell you, I have the distinct record of being the longest serving member of that committee so far, since the committee was created. And so I knew very well that things may not be very rosy. First, you remember we have come out of a pandemic, which effects are still being felt. Then there was a serious flooding, one of its kind that happened in this country before I was appointed. Then remember, we have also had international geopolitical dimensions and issues around Eastern Europe and also in the Middle East now. And now we come locally, then we had the agitation of the young people, which almost culminated into protest of the entire country. And most cities were affected and our economy was heavily hit. Besides losing the Finance Bill of 2024, and again, the Finance Act 2023 is under threat. So I came in, I don't think there is any Minister for Finance who has come in at a very difficult time. And so when I got in, I found confusion, yes, complexity of issues to be dealt with, one of which are we able to manage to fund our budget? I think that to me was the most critical assignment. We have a budget to fund from July to June next year with constrained resources, with uncertainty in the economic environment. And so far, I think so good. We have managed to pull through, in my view, and there are a few things that we need to do, and maybe I'll highlight them. To me, there are just two critical issues, but the fundamentals are working. The critical issues that we have is, number one, the liquidity in the economy. You hear people talk a lot about we don't have money in our pockets. That is basically saying there is no liquidity in the economy. And maybe I'll find time to address that. There is a strategy to deal with that. And then the other one is, of course, the popular the cost of debt servicing cost, which is very high. We are not likely to default in any debt servicing. I am not intending to allow for any more for borrowing beyond what we have planned to borrow. We have in the budget 767 billion, which constitutes 4.3% of our GDP, down from what was borrowed last financial year, which was 5.2% of GDP. If we can reduce the deficit financing as a percentage of GDP over the medium term, we can easily end up at a point where now we are either balancing the budget, or if we have to borrow, it must be below 3% of GDP. So those are the two critical issues that we are still belaboring or fighting or trying to correct. But we have a lot of fundamentals working. And that is why I have said there is hope in the horizon. If I may just point out, look at the economic fundamentals that are of concern. Number one, we are growing. The economy is growing. And it is growing at above average in the sub-Saharan region and even globally. If you look at the global economic growth, it's about 3.2%. Kenya realized 5.6% last year. This year, the first quarter was 5%. This Second quarter was 4.6%, and you know why. This third quarter, I think we are going to do better, and the fourth quarter. And so that by the end of the year, we can realize about 5% or 5.1% economic growth. That is not bad. The only problem is in which sectors. There are certain sectors that we need to tweak around work to make sure that they also register high economic growth, one of which is the manufacturing sector, and the second one is construction. Those two sectors have suffered, and I wish at the time I would explain why and what we intend to do. Now, very quickly, the other thing that I would say is also demonstrated that the economy is working is the inflation. I know some people have talked that there could be it could slow economic growth, which is true. Where we have reached with our inflation at 3.6%, now we need to start because we have managed inflation, partly because of the food prices, which have come down, and also because of the fuel, because those are two drivers to inflation in this country. So inflation has been consistently coming down. It was 4.3 in July, 4.4 in August, and now September 3.6, which is well below even the midpoint that we have put as a target. The other one is the reserves. We have healthy reserve, almost 5 months cover, very healthy. Our currency has also stabilized. You look at also the remittances, the diaspora remittances has increased. So all the fundamentals one would want to talk about of this economy is working. Now what we need to do is just to stabilize the economy. Two things that I spoke about: liquidity. And liquidity, maybe that is where I'll end. The problem with the liquidity in this country is we are not paying. As a government, we are not paying our bills, so the so-called pending bills. That we must look for ways of making sure that we pay the pending bills to bring liquidity back to the economy. The second thing is now it has reached a time, because we have managed to control inflation, to now lower the interest rate. I think central bank has lowered it from 13. Now we are at 12%. But I think we should go below that, so that businesses, the private sector, can borrow money from banks and inject that into the economy. I thank God for the first time in a long period now, I think over 2 years, we have borrowed, the government has borrowed treasury bills this last week on Thursday. When we auctioned the treasury bills, the rate went down below 15% for the first time in a long period of time. So 91-day treasury bill was sold at 14.99%. And I think we can even get lower, so that the government does not overborrow or borrow expensively, and then we allow the private sector, we give space to the private sector to borrow money, so that we can have liquidity in the economy. Yes.
One of the things that people have said is that so the government is first crowding out the private sector from the local lending market, but also at the same time, the government does not have money. Just like you've said, you're not paying pending bills. Not only pending bills, you're also not sending money to counties on time. You're not servicing your operations on time. Are you having a cash crunch?
Well, in terms of counties, I think it should be understood. The problem was not lack of money or liquidity problems. The problem we had at the beginning of the year was lack of legal framework. You remember the County Allocation of Revenue Act is still with the Senate and the National Assembly, and of course the revised division of revenue bill is also with the two houses. But I had to personally seek a legal opinion, because there were two divided opinions. I personally believed we could transfer money to counties based on the regulations and the Supreme Court decision, but some some lawyers thought that would not be correct. And so, to be very clear and to have some legal backing, I sought for legal opinion. I wrote a letter to the Attorney General, who responded and said we could go ahead. And we paid the July allocation to the counties. The August allocation is likely to be paid this week. We agreed on that. So we'll only remain with September allocation to pay, which by the end of this year, by December, we should be up to date. So counties should not be a problem. The counties also have additional problems with the controller budget, which I don't want to get into. Now, in terms of, yes, we are borrowing so much and crowding out. Like today, we have, this year, we have planned to borrow 413 billion from domestic.
Just the domestic market alone.
Yeah, domestic market. The only solution to this is two. One, manage our expenditure, and two, which we are going to manage. In fact, I've been very clear that if we have to increase our expenditure, it should not be beyond 200 billion for this coming year. I know our budget review outlook is talking about 4.1 billion, up from 3.8 trillion, up from. But we are likely to contain that and only increase our expenditure by a modest amount in the coming year, so that we control expenditure. On the revenue side, we are seriously working on around Kenya Revenue Authority. We are putting a new system in place, which is being piloted as we speak, to see loopholes, especially on value-added tax. When you go to Luthuli Avenue, you will find two prices. You're told if you want to pay tax, you pay this. So we want to seal those loopholes. We are not going to punish anyone. There is also the issue of rental income. Most of us who are landlords don't pay rental income. The target, we are only collecting about 17 billion, but that sector has the potential of giving us 100 billion shillings. Then there is the personal income tax, PIT, which most professionals, we offer professional services, we rarely pay taxes as employed Kenyans do pay. You go to a doctor, treats your eye, but they rarely pay much tax out of that because of visibility. So we are coming up with a system that is going to enhance visibility. We are going to see Kenyans who are supposed to pay taxes, and then we will then you pay what you should pay.
When Kenyans hear system,
and we are not going to
when Kenyans hear new system, they start getting jitters.
No, but new systems.
New system, cost of new system. What comes with this new system? What does it mean?
No, but systems will always be upgraded. We do it every day. KRA has had a system that is 10 years old. Technological advancement does not allow that. I mean, which system can sustain 10 years a period with the current changes? It's not practical. So we must keep pace with the development. And that is why you find the tax visibility is low. I was giving example when we had this summit of taxpayers the other day, and that we have looked at the records, and you find the cargo that goes to Rwanda, cargo that is registered that has gone to South Sudan is more than Kenya. How? Kenya is a bigger economy. It cannot, and all the cargo pass through here to go to Rwanda, almost all. And Kenya, we are recording low cargo uptake, meaning there is a loophole in the system. There are leakages. So those are the leakages we want to seal. It's not punishing anyone. We are not going to militarize collection of taxes. In fact, we are even coming with a proposal to have tax amnesty so that we want to make tax paying as friendly as possible, but people also to be as responsible as possible. My final comment on tax, I think now our communication should move from appearing like government just needs money to fund its services. We need also to tell the business people that the single largest consumer of goods and services is the government. The biggest buyer is the government. When government has capacity to buy, and if we can seal corruption loopholes, who benefits is the business community, because they will have a customer. They will get someone to buy their goods and services. So that's the way we should look at it. Pay tax, we buy from you, you make business, you employ people, and then you pay us tax. And then the country runs. That is how we should look at it.
The thinking about it and the way you've explained it so well, it sounds really good. And it sounds like if it worked that way, it would be perfect. Problem with systems, allow me to go back a little bit on this matter of systems.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the systems at all.
Yep.
But when you use the word upgrade, it doesn't mean overhaul. It means you tweak what exists so that it can do more.
And it was planned that way from the very beginning.
Yes, so you buy equipment that can be upgraded. But we seem to have a never-ending cycle of systems that become obsolete. And so we have to replace them. And you keep asking the question, why don't we buy systems that we know can be upgraded? Because we understand what an upgrade is. Just my thought. Now, on the matter of taxes, expenditure, this is a never-ending cycle of mistrust based on this. Anecdotally, there is always the thinking that the taxation regime in Kenya is not a problem. The problem comes in when people ask, we understand tax, we understand that the government needs to collect revenue, the communication on what that money does. See, the explanation you've given about the county system, not difficult to understand. When it comes to other services, we're now talking health. We're now talking education. Because those two are usually a painful point when people speak. So they say, if indeed our taxes are being used as we are told, why is it that we are constantly dealing with issues around these two sectors? Again, communication.
Yeah, it is communication. But again, I want to just take you back to the systems. Sometimes it may require complete overhaul. But I agree with you that we should have systems that would stand test of time, that would just be upgraded to save on cost. But at times, you find you are in a point, and maybe mistakes were made in the past, that may require to be corrected. So the system that we are getting is not just an upgrade of the current system. It's a system that is going to overhaul the tax collection, especially in the areas that I've mentioned. It is a system that will help enhance visibility. I'm not an expert in IT, but what I know and has been explained to me because I chaired the meeting on the same is that this is a system that is going to enhance visibility. Now, regarding expenditure, I can't agree with you more. I think the problem we've had in this country and which we have today is the trust deficit. And the problem of expenditure management, spend management is very critical. When I came to the ministry, and remember when I was being vetted, I was very clear that we need to have a procurement system because that is where we lose money, procurement. We should have a procurement system that would automate from budgeting to the use of goods and services, end to end. Because what we have today is a broken system where part of it is automated, you can reach a point, now it is manual, you get back to automation. We should have a system where if a money has been allocated in the budget, we should be able to track it, that it has come from the budget now to procurement. The money is there for goods and services to be procured so that we also don't have this issue of bills not being paid. There is a budget, then there is a procurement, then the procurement should lead you to payment. Then payment should lead you to the actual use of goods and services. There should be a system that would track and demonstrate that goods and services have been used. Now, when I came in and I asked, where is this system? I'm told, oh, we are doing the program, but there is no budget, that the budget was removed. So how much was it? 560 million. Now, we stop a process. We fail to procure a system that would help us save billions because we don't have 560 million. I gave approval based on the powers that the Constitution has given the CS in charge of National Treasury to allow expenditure awaiting ratification by Parliament. So I signed off the 560 million so that we can have that system. The process is ongoing so that we can control expenditure, so that we can see the value for money. Kenyans pay taxes. They need to see value for money. And that is one of the reasons why there was agitation. Now, there are also other sectors that we are intending to target, especially the big consumers. And I'm happy, Muga, you have mentioned them. Education. It is an area that we are focused on, that we want to do proper audit of that, the money that we spend under education from TSC. I engaged UNDP. I spoke with them. They are supposed to also help us do analysis of our systems, to do an appraisal, because that is an area they have competence globally on. And they said there is a country which I will not mention where they found the payroll had 17% ghost workers. And Kenya may even be worse. So we must have a system that would clean up our payroll system, more particularly education, TSC and the rest. And then the money that we spend in education, especially on capitation. We are funding students who don't exist. And that is where we waste money. So these are areas that we have agreed with my colleague and the Ministry of Education that we must do audit of the expenditure that we spend in education. The CS in charge of public service, Justin Muturi, and myself are working on issues of payroll audit so that we make sure that we pay those who exist. When I was a chair of the Public Accounts Committee, you'll be amused that we found so many teachers who were being paid after and they were dead. So if you can pay dead teachers, then you can pay non-existent teachers.
Yeah.
And we want a system which would transit teachers from payroll to pension. And any Kenyan, if you have been working and now you are retiring, the system should automatically transit you.
These are things that are very, very obvious, right? They sound like they are obvious things to do. So why have the ministries not done them?
Well,
before.
Ask me.
And what is this magic thing that now John Badi is going to come with that will make them do what they have not done?
Sometimes,
assuming that they are the biggest beneficiaries of these weaknesses in the system.
People sometimes don't want systems to work. I will tell you, even this e-procurement that we are talking about, it is being resisted. Yeah, there is resistance in the system.
Of course.
So it just must work. Even KRA, let me tell you, Kenya Revenue Authority system that is being resisted. The changes, they are now coming up with the organizational structure. It's being resisted from within because there are people who are benefiting from the confused system that we have. So those are the people you must deal with because by the end of the day, they must be there. So it is my duty and it's the duty of the government, and the president is very explicit and clear about it, that we must make sure that we improve efficiency. That is why we are brought in. So we will deal with those challenges, because I count them as challenges, as we progress towards achieving our objective.
Waziri,
yes,
the issue, for example, of education and the leakages in education.
Yeah.
When NEMIS was being introduced, the same idea was being floated. We need to know how many children are in our schools because we send money to schools per child. We do not just fund education, we fund children in schools. So let's come up with NEMIS. We still have leakages. We have all these systems, SAP and the others that are in government for managing systems and structures and payroll and all. We still have ghost workers and leakages. These are deeply rooted problems and the beneficiaries are very well seated in government. What will you do to remove them?
We have had systemic problems which must be dealt with. NEMIS, I agree, and it is not a bad system. We just need to tweak it a bit to help us now solve. Because it has, people also find loopholes in the systems. So the system may be good, but you find loophole. That is why we need to continuously monitor and assess our systems. Regarding the people who come out as bottlenecks in terms of implementation, the best way to go about it, especially if it is in my ministry, would be to tell them that either you accept the change or you leave, because change must come. So if you cannot you cannot swim with us, then we will leave you behind to drown. It's just that simple.
You mentioned something that I found very appealing when you talked about a system that tracks movements. you being a finance person know such systems exist where from the initiation of a process as it continues,
yes,
all those processes are attached to individuals who must okay or who must move something as it moves along until the very end, meaning it's actually circular. So you actually get to the beginning. And so if there's a problem, you can actually tell where the problem is.
Yes.
It's not complicated. Even if the system, we are told, fails or collapses, you can tell where it has failed and you can tell who is in charge.
Yeah.
I am assuming that the system you're speaking about already exists in the ministry that you head. So determining where the problem is not a problem because the system itself will tell you where the problem is. Now, if indeed, and I'm hypothesizing, that is the case. Eric asked a question. Many of the people whom we speak of, not only have they been there for some time, but they've grown roots and they have associates. We call them in Kenya godfathers. And it becomes very difficult. Worst case scenario from what we've seen in the past is somebody gets transferred, not removed. Then a person who should actually exit completely from government is transferred. Are we saying that we can assure the citizens of Kenya that under your watch, the systems that we have and the work that they can do will be honored and that these things, one will actually see progress and with that progress we will see the efficiency that you're saying is to be expected?
Yeah, it is a collaborative effort of government because you see, the Treasury is basically coordinating. My work is almost like the work of Prime Cabinet Secretary. You coordinate almost the entire government in a way, because there is no cabinet memo which will go to the cabinet without the signature of the CS, Treasury and Attorney General. There is no initiation of financing in this country without involvement of the Treasury. So you basically coordinate. Mine is to provide a system that would help us have efficiency and prudent use of resources. I also have, although it's not a very strong department, we need to strengthen it, the internal audit department to always continuously review the performance in line ministries. But it is a collaborative effort. I am putting in my effort to make sure that we have first a system that would help us cure some of the challenges that we face at the moment, where tendering process is manipulated to favor those who should be favored, in quote.
Yeah.
Now, once you have that system, those who are going to violate the system must be dealt with. And this dealing with must be within the human resource policy of the government. So if there is a weakness in that policy, then we need to look at that policy. Because what is the reason? If someone has embezzled funds, for example, how would you transfer such a person? If someone has knowingly, irregularly manipulated a procurement process, it is illegal, it is criminal. Such a person should even go to jail. Then there is no need to transfer. If our system allows transfer of first incompetence, corruption to other ministries, it is a wrong system. We must work to make sure that that is not done. If you have failed, the only thing where we can transfer you is maybe you have made a mistake of human error, or you have been somewhere for far too long. We need to transfer you because it is one of also internal control mechanisms. But if you have shown incompetence, there should be a way of disengaging with you. If you have shown that you are corrupt, in fact, we should take you to jail.
All those things are there in law.
Yes.
The laws are clear on all those matters, in how public officers should behave, in ethics and anti-corruption, in Public Officer Ethics Act, in laws on anti-money laundering.
Yes.
All those laws are there in place and they actually should be working. They are not working. You sound this morning like somebody who has gotten there, and because you've been on the outside for so long, you've been seeing the problems from afar. You've gone in and you've confirmed some of those things, and you've seen some of these things can easily be tweaked and switched.
Yes.
And so you have gone there and you said, we can actually reform this system. Is there anybody else, Mheshimiwa, who is speaking your language in the entire government? Is there anybody else who wants to reform things?
To me, I think the communication is there right from the top. I've listened to my president very keenly from the time we were being sworn in. If you listen to his speech, he was very clear that we need to go in and make changes. He talked about us bringing a change, especially on the use of resources, the funds that we are allocated. Any CS has now a responsibility to make sure that that is implemented in your particular area, in your line ministry. So the tone is there. We have had a cabinet meeting once, full cabinet meeting, and it is the same. We had an induction, it is the same. The president has, there are days where I actually go to State House from Monday to Friday. At least I share with the president. So I know his thinking, and his thinking is aligned to my thinking.
Okay. Who else?
Well, you know that
we have that because
we have the change of
because we have heard this from the president, and I've said this even on this show before. When you listen to the president, you can hear him saying, "I want things to work."
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you look at the things that are working, and you can see things not working. And you've gone in there and you found, yes, it's true. Even though the president says this, you've spent time now with the president, and you can actually hear he says these things need to work, need to change. But Vituko ground is different. So that means that from the president to the ground, there's huge...
There's a disconnect.
But you see, that disconnect is not entirely there because one, you have just heard me pronounce myself on some of the things I'm doing to help the president realize his objective of making sure that there's prudent use of resources. One of which I have talked about reforming our revenue collection where we feel there are leakages. Look at the VAT refunds. It is a sham. And actually I'm coming with some proposed legislations to seal those loopholes so that we move goods from being zero rated to exempt, so that we eliminate this idea of refunds, because it's not even benefiting consumers after all. So we need to continue exempting the goods, the essential commodities. We can't tax them at 16% because that would make their prices unbearable to the people, to the ordinary folk. But put them in a class where, in a schedule, move them from Schedule 2 to Schedule 1, where now you are not, they are not being taxed and there are no refunds. So there are a lot of leakages that we want to sort out.
Why have they been there, Waziri?
That is why there is a change in the cabinet and there is a change in... Because you see...
Now, when you talk to the people at the National Treasury and the people at KRA, why have these things still been there? You're not the first one to say, let's move away from zero rating. So no, why has it still been the case?
The zero-rated commodities, I will tell you the reason was simple, that we thought zero-rated commodities would even be much cheaper than exempt commodities. And actually they should. That is the truth. They should, because the seller would be allowed to claim the VAT already paid.
Yeah.
But exempt, you don't claim. But now, that claim only goes first to the seller of goods.
Yeah.
The consumer, they rarely pass the benefit.
Does not benefit.
But the worst still is now the fictitious and fake claims. So that is why we need to reduce those zero-rated commodities. Because there will be, in fact, there is this talk. This is saying that those who have bakery shops, the bakery, they employ fewer bakers compared to accountants, because you don't really need to bake bread. You just need accountants with a pen to cook figures, and you go to KRA and get refunds.
And say that you baked eggs.
Yeah, so those are the things that we need to do away with. And I want to ask for the support of Kenyans. When we come with some of these proposals, they are good for us. Because when these loopholes are sealed, we still have the commodities exempted from tax. But at the same time, we now seal the loophole of these unscrupulous business people who take money from the government without offering any service or goods. Now, on the larger question of why there has been corruption in government, we all live in this country, and we know things have not been working. Things have not been working simply because Kenya, there is no that goodwill to make things work. And that goodwill, if the president is providing it, like he's already providing, it is our duty as his foot soldiers. we are sitting with him at the highest policy decision making, and we have heard him. He has communicated, and there is no contrary communication. What stops me as now the CS for finance or in charge of national treasury from implementing what the president wants implemented? That is why I am supporting reforms at KRA. And the reforms is not just about system. It is even the human resource. I've already communicated, we don't want people who are acting. We want people either to be confirmed. If they are incompetent, get rid of them and get competent.
And fill the position.
Yeah,
properly.
why do you keep me acting forever as if I'm not competent, I should not even act in that position. So there are a lot of reforms. We are doing reforms on expenditure. Yeah, I have also talked about targeting certain key areas. You know, this is what we call management by exception. You cannot do everything. But you look at the risky areas. And the risky areas in government are those areas which have the highest budgetary allocation. One of them is education. The second one is infrastructure. Then you come to health. Although health is devolved, but still we spend substantial amount at the national level. Now we have the SHA, which I don't want to get into the details. SHA, which is managing 3 funds. And people don't know the difference between SHA and SHIF. SHIF is one of the funds, Social Health Insurance Fund, and then there is Primary Health Fund. And then we have Emergency, Chronic, and Critical Illness Fund. Those 3 funds are managed through one authority called SHA. Kenyans have been questioning, why is this SHA? And why not NHIF? It was not working. NHIF was not working. I think we need to communicate to Kenyans. If a system is not working, make sure you get something that is working. It may have challenges from the beginning, but that does not mean you go back to a system that does not work. You know, the problem with us is if we attempt to get something to work, then we have challenges. Instead of correcting challenges and moving forward, we tend to lapse back. Kenyans tend to be thinking like, was it Lot's wife? Yeah? Who always, so don't look back, and they look back and then they remain. So we need to be looking forward. If SHA has challenges, what are these challenges? One of them is transition. We deal with that. Funding, we deal with that. Yeah? The NHIF has not been paid 30 billion. We deal with that.
Where is that 30 billion going to come from?
From the government.
Why?
We have to look for it. Because it is not there with the...
Are we saying that the taxpayer is going to absorb NHIF debt?
You see, the bottom line is, this is a national institution. You cannot run away from it. SHA is taking liabilities and assets. So once SHA takes liabilities, SHA will have to pay for those liabilities. It is that simple. As to who created that, now that is investigative authorities to deal with. Let them tell us what cost, where did the money go? That is why we have this investigative authority. They need to, Auditor General, we should start with Auditor General, to go and audit and find out where the money went to. There is DCI, we have EACC. Yeah? So, but before that is done, we are transiting from an authority to another authority. And a health insurance fund to a social health authority. When we are transiting also liabilities.
I've got to ask this question if we have to throw it in. The public-private partnerships.
Yes,
it's a big thing, and it's a way that this government is moving and moving very fast. Nothing happens without the say-so of the National Treasury, or at least the nod of the National Treasury. The PPP Directorate is under your ministry.
That's correct.
So now we have seen the Adani deal with power transmission.
Yes.
And there's, of course, the ongoing conversations around the Adani deal with the airports. Okay? Yeah. There are very many questions that are asked on the process, the procedure. You even went to Parliament to explain and to answer these questions. The one on power, what was everything ticked? Did it follow all due process up to the point of signing of the PPP deal with Adani?
You see, this is a topic that may require another day. I come and just talk about PPP. I think Kenyans need to understand what PPP is all about, public-private partnerships. We haven't understood it, and I think government is largely to blame. We need to communicate to Kenyans and make them understand what it is we are doing. You know, when you hear people say we are selling the airport, the truth is KAA has failed to run this airport. That is the truth, whether we like it or not. They cannot run the airport. Now they are making losses. So if you go across the world, most of the airports are managed through this kind of initiatives. They bring their money, so there's nothing like they're stealing from us. They bring their money, they do, and after they have done it, then they run it for a period of time. Now, the question should be, has it been done properly?
Yep.
And that is where the directorate under my ministry is involved. We are questioning these transactions too early, in my view, because you see, if you look at the airport one, the process was still at validation stage. I have, through my ministry, 2 departments. There is a committee, which we call the PPP committee, chaired by my principal secretary, Chris Kipto. That is the law. And then there is the directorate. They have played their role in all these processes. And actually, we have, in my contract performance contract, I have signed that we should be able to pull through 5 PPP projects this financial year, because that is the way to go. To finance major infrastructural investments in this country, we cannot do it through exchequer. We don't have that money. We are using our money to pay debts, service debts. We are using our money to pay salaries. We are using our money to pay for certain critical social expenditures, which are very critical. Now, what is remaining cannot. And very few countries have actually financed construction or development of the airports through exchequer. It is done through these kind of initiatives.
Okay.
Now, we need to support it. The Adani may not be the right person. If the process, the evaluation finds Adani is not the right, then we need to get someone else with the capacity to do it. But you know, when I listen to people, sometimes I ask myself, so what is the worst that can happen to us with this Adani, especially for the airport? Okay. What is the worst? We are not giving them money. So they come. If they have corrupted some people in the system, the only problem is that the cost will be a little higher. So there will be. We have an there is an agreement with Adani that every year this is what you will be giving.
Yeah.
And that money is more than the money that KAA makes.
Yeah.
And then the airport will be done.
Yeah.
And it will be efficient.
Yeah.
And it will make Kenya a competitive country in the region.
Yes.
It will remain the hub that it is.
Yes.
If that can come through whatever name you call that person,
I think
what is the problem?
The issue, Waziri,
Yes.
is always in the detail, right?
Yes.
Is in making sure that the person who's negotiating on behalf of Kenyans
Yeah.
is negotiating with the best interest of Kenyans at heart, and
Correct.
making sure that you get the most value from your counterparty. If we are saying that we are improving our airport, make sure that then we are getting the best. Are we doing a new apron? Are we doing a new runway? Are we doing new? Are we expanding? Are we putting up new hotels, new facilities at the airport? At what point are we putting them? How shall that help us as a country and the airport to make more money? How much will it all cost? How much do we owe you? If we are only going to do 2 runways, and then the cost is going to be X times 5, the taxpayers will have to find ways of paying that.
that is exactly what actually I've been saying.
And that's why that's why the public is concerned that we do not have visibility in what is being discussed.
Thank you. Now, I agree with you, and I think I have now hardly 2-3 minutes.
Yes.
You see, if you look, the problem is that we have not been communicating to Kenyans. And I think that especially the contracting authorities, because there is what we call contracting authority under PPP, which for JKIA is KAA. Through the line ministry, needs to communicate better. This one of energy, we need to communicate. You see, I have looked at the documentation around this Adani and the airport. All the questions that Kenyans are raising have been raised by the PPP committee. 22 issues raised. A lot of it is around the costing, a lot of it around staff. Yeah, how are we going to transit the staff of the Kenya Airports Authority working at the JKIA, and many other issues on sharing of revenue. Even in terms of returns, as there was a proposal, IRR was reduced from 18 to 16% through this committee. So there's still negotiation. The only thing is that Kenyans, I think, feel that we did not communicate. It was being done in a secret manner. But you see, the government is also arguing, and I belong to government, and our argument has been that we had not reached a point where it was necessary to communicate with the public.
Okay,
because
final question.
Yes.
Because you still have your 2 minutes. On the debt, you said debt servicing cost is one of the things that you are really looking at and controlling.
Yes.
What's our current debt?
Our current debt is in the region of 10.6 trillion.
Okay.
10.8 trillion. You know, it also depends on our currency. Because you see, there is a 50%, about 49% of the debt is external debt, 48%. So we have that debt. The problem is not the stock of debt, if you ask me. The problem today is the cost of that debt.
Yeah.
So any debt, so the starting point, every country will have a debt. Make no mistake. The starting point should be controlling the cost of the new debt. Because you can do very little about the old debt. Now, the new debt, the only way to control the cost of the new debt is revenue mobilization so that we borrow less. And 2, prudent expenditure, we borrow less. 3, when we borrow, we should borrow cheaply. And that is why I said we are working on lowering the interest rates. Last week, I said, for 2 years now, we have never borrowed treasury bills, which are the short-term borrowing domestically, at below 15%. There was a time it went all the way to 18%.
Yep.
Now, last week, it was at 14.9%. We need to work on making sure it comes down. And that will be done through 2 things. One, there is the monetary policy of the central bank, which we are discussing with the governor. You know, someone with experience, he has worked at the PS at the Treasury, he knows what we are talking about. And also 2 is to manage our appetite for growth and send the right signal to the economy. Sending the right signal means that we are sending the signal that we are not so hungry for more money from the domestic market, so that the banks, the pensions, and all these institutions which are giving money to us should now think of giving money to you to start business or to develop your business. Muga, do you have a business venture?
Many.
You do, you have. If you have, do you access money? No. Why? Because government has crowded you out.
Yep.
So we want to free the money to allow you to take credit, do business, give us tax. It will be beneficial to us.
When do you see this happening? Within this financial year?
Well, this is a medium-term strategy.
Okay.
This financial year, what I would guarantee you is to maintain the fiscal deficit that we have. Then moving to the next year, we reduce that deficit. It is a systematic way. By the way, it is not going to happen in a day. We must demonstrate consistently that in the next 3 years, our budget deficit, which is leading us to borrowing more, should be below 3%.
As a seasoned parliamentarian and a member of the budget committee for many years, does it make sense to have over 700 billion shillings deficit year on year? In fact, in many years, it then ends up rising to close to $1 trillion.
Actually, we had gone to over 900 billion.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. And the reason is simple, that we are not collecting enough revenue or what we should collect. That's number one. If we can increase collection even by 300 billion, we'll reduce the budget deficit to about 400 billion or 400 and something.
It has been argued
that is number
that
one.
the National Treasury usually comes with a pie in the sky to Parliament and says, we are going to raise 2.7 trillion shillings next year, and yet they did not even hit the target the previous year. And the Budget Committee always says in the budget policy statement, you did not hit your target. This new target is unrealistic. Year on year.
That has been my language. In fact, you've just taken my language every year that we are unrealistic.
Now you are at the Treasury.
Projection. I am now there.
What are they saying? Why do they keep doing this?
The point is we are not going to over project revenue. That I would tell you for a fact. We are not going to over project revenue.
Okay.
Even wait for the budget of 2025-2026. We are not. Even the supplementary budgets, we will not over project. Already, we have seen how we are performing. We will make sure that we are very realistic. In fact, this year, if we have to be below the targeted revenue, it should not be with more than 100 billion. And that will just be because we had challenges at the beginning of the year. For 2 months, we were dealing with the effects of the demonstrations. Yes.
Waziri, thank you for joining us today. I know you have a press conference to go and address.
Yeah.
We will be waiting for the other news later.
Thank you very much.
You'll be back here for a longer conversation.
I will. Certainly, I'll be back for a longer conversation. And prepare now your questions. Yes. Including the Adani one.
Of course.
Thank you very much. And God bless you, and God bless our viewers and listeners.
Too. Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury and Economic Planning, John Badi. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
It's now 8 o'clock with Safaricom. Go monthly with an all-in-one bundle and enjoy convenience and value with Safaricom. For just 2,000 bob a month, enjoy 17 GB data, 1,000 minutes, 2,000 SMSs, and free WhatsApp. Go monthly. Dial *544# and select Go monthly. Safaricom is for you.
SpiceFM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Lau Ubaga. A 3-judge bench of the High Court will any time from now deliver a ruling on whether the Senate will proceed with Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's impeachment. This follows a day-long court battle by Gashagwa's legal team to stop the impeachment proceeding scheduled for today from 10 a.m. Yesterday, a 3-judge bench presided over by Justice Eric Ogola and comprising of Justices Anthony Murima and Fred Mugambi listened to an application by Gashagwa's lead counsel, senior counsel Paul Mwite, to halt the impeachment proceedings in the Senate. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Badi says despite the several challenges facing his ministry, President William Ruto has shown support in making things better. Speaking on SpiceFM, Badi said there were efforts to reform KRA, something that would better the country's revenue collection.
It is our duty as his foot soldiers. We are sitting with him at the highest policy decision making, and we have heard him. He has communicated, and there is no contrary communication. What stops me as now the CS for finance or in charge of national treasury from implementing what the president wants implemented? That is why I am supporting reforms at KRA, and the reforms is not just about system. It is even the human resource. I've already communicated, we don't want people who are acting. We want people either to be confirmed. If they are incompetent, get rid of them and get competent.
And fill the position.
Yeah, why do you keep me acting forever as if I'm not competent, I should not even act in that position. So there are a lot of reforms.
Badi father said that some of the risky areas in government was education and health, father insisting that replacing NHIF with SHA was going to bring positive outcomes to the health sector.
Kenyans have been questioning, why is this SHA and why not NHIF? It was not working. NHIF was not working. I think we need to communicate to Kenyans. If a system is not working, make sure you get something that is working. It may have challenges from the beginning, but that does not mean you go back to a system that does not work. You know, the problem with us is if we attempt to get something to work, then we have challenges. Instead of correcting challenges and moving forward, we tend to lapse back. Kenyans tend to be thinking like, was it Lot's wife? Yeah? Who always, so don't look back, and they look back and then they remain.
On the issue of where the 30 billion shillings owed to hospitals disappeared to, this is what the CS had to say.
Are we saying that the taxpayer is going to absorb NHIF debt?
You see, the bottom line is, this is a national institution. You cannot run away from it. SHA is taking liabilities and assets. So once SHA takes liabilities, SHA will have to pay for those liabilities. It is that simple. As to who created that, now that is investigative authorities to deal with. Let them tell us what cost, where did the money go? That is why we have this investigative authority. They need to, Auditor General, we should start with Auditor General, to go and audit and find out where the money went to. There is DCI, we have EACC. But before that is done, we are transiting from an authority to another authority. Okay. And a health insurance fund to a social health authority. When we are transiting also liabilities.
And Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has distanced himself from allegations that Indian company, that is Adani Group, funded former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's 2012 presidential campaigns with him as the running mate. Speaking during a TV interview, Kalonzo denied any links to the company chaired by an Indian billionaire, reiterating that he neither knew nor met anybody from the group.
Wouldn't know, because when you have a presidential candidate, how they organize their finances normally is all left to themselves. And the running mate, when it comes to fundraising for a presidential campaign, it is different. No idea who Adani is. I've never met him.
That's the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Yeah. It's 8 a.m. It's peak traffic hour. So let's just start with the big one, the Thika Superhighway. It's stretching all the way to Garden City coming towards town. And on Kiambu Road, it's from DCI headquarters coming towards town. After, of course, the Muthaiga interchange at Pangani, it clears up. So Wangari Maathai is also now quite busy right now as you get over across Limuru Road heading towards Ridgeways. But then after that, you get to Museum Hill. It's all right. Getting to Antown, okay. Muranga Road is busy as you approach the roundabout. Uhuru Highway starts getting busy at Bunyala roundabout. Up the Railways Bridge, it's also just slightly busy at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout. Langata Road is busy all the way along the airport, Wilson Airport, coming towards where T-Mall Junction. And then when you get on to Mbagathi and Raila Odinga Road, it starts getting okay. Mombasa Road is all right, but you know the usual area, Imara Daima coming all the way to General Motors. And this is something that the engineers at Kenya really have to think about. This traffic all the time at Imara Daima coming towards General Motors is because of that thing that you call a roundabout under that bridge at General Motors. Just think about it differently. North Airport Road is very busy as you come all the way from Eastern Bypass and to Embakasi into North Airport Road, coming towards City Cabanas. Very busy. Just be patient.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the situation.
Thank you very much for keeping it locked. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. We're live on SpiceFM and all online platforms, including Radio Garden, X, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Kila Mahali. We thank you very much for keeping it locked. Somebody has said hi to you, City, from, said they're in Russia. I think
Russia.
Vladivostok. Yeah. In Russia.
Bloody what?
Vladivostok. Vladivostok in Russia. So I said, good morning, watching there from, that part of the world. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. Yes.
So, Bolt is back on the hot seat. We invited Bolt last week. They said, yes, we're going to come. We'll answer the questions that people have because we really are here to stay and we're here to serve our customers. So we want to understand and we want to also explain ourselves. And we asked the GM for Rides, Linda Ndongo, to come again this week so we can address the many other questions that had been raised by customers. She's back. Linda, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
Very well.
Nice.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Welcome back.
Good to
Had
be
a
back.
good week?
Yes, Busy but good.
Yeah, busy is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, busy is good.
Really?
Yeah, busy is good.
Busy is busy.
Busy is busy. Not necessarily good. Eh?
It can be good.
Yeah.
Okay. So, City will welcome you with the day's proverb, but before he does that, he'll also tell you about the Aga Khan University Hospital's home-based care.
Okay.
Yes, yes. When one thinks of healthcare, one thinks of health facilities. One thinks of you leaving your home and going to a health facility.
Yes.
Called a hospital, a clinic, a dispensary, whatever you want to call it. But the Aga Khan University Hospital is saying that beyond having 53 outlets with many specialists working within it, they have taken healthcare to a different level, a completely new notch. They're saying they can bring those services to you in the comfort of your home.
Tell me more.
Yes, if you are looking to have tests conducted, they will conduct those tests on you.
In my house.
Yes, now, I know you're going to tell me they're going to conduct MRI. No, they won't. What they will do, basic tests that give them an indicator of what it is that is required. Because from then, you may need to go to hospital. But you don't start with going to hospital.
Okay. So like your blood tests. The
Stool, urine, yes. They will go and have them tested and bring you back the results. If you are convalescing and there is need for you to recover, many people recover in hospital. They say, no. You stay in your home. The doctor will come and visit you. The nurse will come and see you. Whatever care that you'd have received in the hospital, you will receive right there. If it's physiotherapy that you required, you do not need to go to the hospital. You will receive that physiotherapy in the comfort of your home.
Interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
Now,
on to the proverb.
On to the proverb.
This week the proverbs are
from the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria.
Okay.
Yes. There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility.
There is an excess of familiarity
at the root of every hostility.
Okay,
that could be true.
They're a bit specific here. They said all.
All.
Hostility.
All hostility.
Yes.
It just means tumezoeana mpaka we just now have to fight. That's what I understand.
Oh, you put it well, though. You put it very well.
Well said. Let's get into it. So last week, one of the things that has been a very, very major conversation is drivers of the ride-hailing apps.
Yes.
Who've been complaining that you companies are just taking money from them. And we asked you, so how do you first of all calculate how much I pay if I hail a Bolt?
Yes.
And we said there are three components that go into it.
Yes.
We said first of all you look at there's a base rate, there's a base fare. That base fare must go to the driver.
Yes.
Then you look at other things. So how far is this ride? What's the distance? And what time of day? So how long will this ride likely take?
Yes.
Because the longer it takes, the more fuel it's consumed, the more time is taken by this driver, and all those things.
Yes.
Then we asked, so even after you've done all that, then how much goes to the driver? 82% you said goes to the driver. 18% is kept by the company board.
Yes.
And there were still more questions. On the other side of the conversation was the Erics and CTs, who are customers who have the Bolt app on their phone.
Yes.
And they're like, some of the things that we just have to deal with in terms of perceptions. How does Bolt deal with vetting of its drivers? How does Bolt deal with understanding your customer and matching that customer with the driver?
Right.
Safety comes in. Okay.
Yes.
Start.
Okay. So I'll unpack that question a little bit. Let's start with drivers, how we vet drivers. And for drivers to join us on the Bolt platform, we undertake a rigorous process where basically we ask all potential drivers to submit several sets of documents to just make sure that, they are legitimate drivers. They are permitted by law to actually drive. So they need to have their driving license, they need to have their PSV license. In addition, we ask them for a photograph, and we go the extra mile just from a safety perspective to also ask for a good conduct certificate, a PCC, because we want to see, is there any criminal record, is there any criminal history here? Because ideally, we don't want to bring anyone on the platform that might cause harm to anybody else. And so we look at all these things and we make sure that everything is valid before we allow them to be part of our, ecosystem. The other thing that we do is we train before, they get on the road on customer service. What are good standards of service? How do you stay safe? Because safety is both ways. It's safety on the driver side as well as safety on the passenger side. So how do you ensure that you're safe? How do you ensure that your customer is safe? So we do all this prior to them joining the platform. The second piece you talked about was now, broadly safety, even on the passenger side. So there's a lot of things that we've put in place on the platform. I'll just highlight a few. Like my favorite one is one we just launched this year. It's called Trip Anomaly. And basically what this one does is if you're on trip and ideally the vehicle should not have stopped, but on the back end we can see that the vehicle has stopped. Say it's like 2 a.m. and someone is coming from the club. You don't expect there to be traffic unless maybe they ran into, alcohol blow stops or something. But generally, the car should not be stopping. So if the car has stopped and there's nothing that indicates that that vehicle has stopped, there's going to be a prompt from our system to both the driver and the passenger asking, hey, your ride is not moving. Are you okay? And, both the passenger and the driver can say, yes, I'm okay. No, I'm not okay. And then depending on now the answer, if everyone says we're fine, it's just a puncture, we're fixing the puncture, that's okay. If somebody, either the driver or the passenger says, no, we're not okay, then there's a follow-up. And we do have an emergency response company that's actually in place to, be dispatched. Should someone say, no, I'm not okay, there's an emergency here, then they go there, and depending on the nature of the emergency, if it's a security one or an injury, then now the required help is provided. There's others. For example, the SOS button. So just in case you're feeling unsafe for whatever reason, say it is my driver and he's looking at me funny, I'm like, I think I need to get out of this ride. I can press the SOS button or something like this. And this is available, by the way, both ways again. For
even
drivers.
For the driver?
Yes, for the driver and the passenger. You can also share your trip. So I can tell you, hey, Eric, I'm going to Westlands. Please let me share my trip with you. Just make sure I get there safe.
Okay.
And the driver can also do the same. So there's many. We could talk about them. I'm very passionate about this, but I'm just saying that safety remains our core thing because we want the ride to be enjoyable. We want it to be seamless. We want it to be something that both the passenger and the driver actually look forward to at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me go back into now the issue of the driver vetting. So you say after the driver has come, they have their PSV, they have a valid driving license, they have a certificate of good conduct.
Yes.
They've brought photos, right side smiling nicely. Then you take them through training.
Yes.
How do you do this training?
So there's two ways. It can be done in person and it can be done online. Because remember, we're a tech company. We value online, online measures. So in person, this happens at our driver engagement center, which is in Westlands. So then you come in, and when you're activated, then now we take you through. These are the do's and the don'ts when you're with us. This is how you can optimize your service to your clients. This is how you can make sure that you get 5-star rating all the time. This is how you make sure you stay safe. This is how you make sure your passenger stays safe. And the same is replicated online, where then, they go through a series of, I would call them like pages or slides, and you have to answer questions for you to move to the next, just to test the comprehension and retention of what you're reading online. Yes.
In these things, how much of customer service are you training? Because the complaints that come from people is you have rude drivers, you encounter a rude driver, you encounter a driver who is not well groomed, and so on and so forth. How do you address these ones?
So there's a big component of the training that is actually on customer service. But we also recognize that sometimes one initial training is not enough. And so when we get, the good thing I think with passengers and drivers as well, people are very quick to share feedback. And so if we get feedback and the feedback is, oh, Linda as a driver is always very rude, then we can now, specifically speak to Linda and say, hey, you know what, you're a great driver, but there's this one area you don't, resonate very well with your passengers because you come across as rude. So maybe change this. So we do have, I would say, systems or measures in place that kind of check this kind of happening. So if we see there's a cohort of drivers, because we don't necessarily do it one by one, right? So if there's a group of drivers that are consistently flagged by passengers because of, not great behavior, then they come back for retraining. So basically you are put on hold. You can't offer the service until you do your retraining.
How many flags do you need to get for you to be put on hold?
So there's a whole, it's a kind of a triage, right? Because the different flags have different weights. For example, if I'm a driver and I didn't say good morning to CT, that's a lower weight than if I'm a driver. And when CT came in, I said something rude to him. So there's a whole matrix that kind of determines at what point he will be put on hold, depending on what the issue is in terms of customer service.
City.
We've talked about safety.
Yes.
I am a great utilizer of these services. And one of the things that I've heard from the drivers is the issue of their safety.
Yes.
There are cases where drivers have dropped a passenger at some place, or passengers only to be robbed, their cars vandalized. What is it that you do to ensure or to guarantee or to limit the harm that can be caused to drivers?
That's a very good question. And yes, the unfortunate reality is that, my mother likes to say, in a sack of potatoes, you're likely to find like one rotten one or two. And if you don't take it out, it spoils the entire bag. And so we take that kind of feedback very seriously. And one of the things that we've actually launched to help to boost the safety of drivers is a mapping of potentially unsafe areas, because we realize it's not everyone that has bad intentions, but some people, to your point, do have bad intentions. They want to hail a cab and go and rob someone, or they want to rob the driver themselves and these kind of things. And so,
or they want to take his vehicle.
Exactly. So over time, we through our research and all the trips that are done, we've actually identified areas within the different places that we operate that are potentially unsafe. And so should a ride come in, going to that area, and it's not all the time that an area is unsafe. For example, some areas are unsafe maybe at night, and some areas are unsafe maybe in the morning. And so we've mapped these out, and should a ride come, someone is requesting a ride from that place, then the driver will see, hey, this is a potentially unsafe area. You can skip this ride if you choose to. So these are some of the things that we're trying to do proactively in real time to just make sure that these kind of incidences don't happen. And coming soon, we are going to be launching something that we call in-trip insurance, which basically kind of helps to also manage, should it happen in the unfortunate event that it happens, then we can kind of help to support the driver on any losses that they might have incurred. But this is coming soon. We haven't rolled it out yet. Yes.
So there are several things that this app is doing. As I request a ride, it's looking at where I am.
Yes.
It's also looking at the time of day.
Yes.
It's looking at what it knows about this area in terms of safety and all. Does it look at my history as a user?
It does.
Does it look at how I've been rated by the drivers before?
It does.
And what does that do?
So, a couple of things. And I think one that I would like to mention here is, for instance, if as a rider, a passenger, let me use that term, there was an altercation with that particular driver, we have a feature called driver passenger unmatching. And so if I was your driver, you are the passenger, something happened. If you request another trip and I'm the nearest one, it will not match me to you. It will match you to the next driver to just avoid this kind of interactions with passengers. In some cases where we have, bad passengers, because they are there, then we do have, some blocks in place that eventually this person might not even be able to use their app. So we do look at, passenger history as well to protect our drivers.
What constitutes a bad passenger? I mean, what is it that a passenger needs to do in order to qualify?
It's the same because ours is, it's a two-sided marketplace, right? So we believe that the standard that we set for drivers should be more or less the same as a passenger. So if a passenger is consistently reported by drivers, rated, let's use that word, right? And rated as rude, rated as, potentially assaulted a driver, or these kind of things. We do our investigations, and then after the investigations, then we can kind of classify that passenger as a not so great passenger. The other thing, the same way drivers have ratings, actual ratings, 3, 4, 5 star, passengers also have ratings, 3, 4, 5 star. So, yeah.
Linda, the drivers that many times when you're hailing an app, a ride using an app, you'll find that this guy has multiple apps.
Yes.
Right? So they've got Bolt and they've got others. So you'll find that many of the drivers who are on Bolt are also on other apps.
Yes.
Do you control that?
No, we don't, because it's a free market.
And it's their vehicle.
It is their vehicle. It is their prerogative to choose who they want to work with, when they want to work with them, why they want to work with them. Yes.
Then I'm sure you also have heard from the market that in terms of perception, there's perception that this app, if you use this app, the drivers, it's safer than if you use this other app.
Yes.
And Bolt is on this other side, right?
Yes.
Why is that? Why would that be so? Why would people consider Bolt to be unsafe and another one to be safer?
I think it's one, maybe historical issues, to be frank, because in the past there might have been incidences that were more pronounced on some apps than others. But I do also think that if we are to look at, the trend over time, this has changed. And I say that from the data that we see. And, we're always open to hearing. Maybe we're seeing our own things, but it does look like the perception is getting better over time. But I would primarily say it's a perception issue. Because things are changing.
What leads to that? What led to that perception? Even if we look historically, what was it?
Yeah, this was before my time, so I might be misquoting those who were there. But the thing is, when we came into the market, we were even named differently at the time. And when we came in, there was not too many players in the space, and the person or the organization that was the biggest, most well-known at the time, had positioned themselves in the market in a certain way, right? And it was, back then I wasn't in the ride-hailing space. So I understood ride-hailing to be, hailing a cab is kind of a luxury experience. It's for them, right? But then when we came in, we kind of made it's for everyone. And when you include the masses, back to my, illustration of a sack of potatoes, there's always maybe one that's not so great. So then if you widen the pool of drivers and passengers that are actually using this service, there's bound to be one or two things that go wrong. And if this happens, say it's one incident in 10,000 trips, people will see that one incident, right? And so it will be amplified and amplified and amplified. So I think that maybe this is what happened when we came in and kind of helped to, disseminate this product to the masses. Then a few incidences showed up here and there, and people associated it with ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
They also associate your service to be more affordable than many others.
Yes.
And that's also part of the issue that drivers have. That, you're charging this trip, same trip from here to Nairobi West, you're charging lower than others. And so I'm going to earn less than the others. Why?
So, I think there's two pieces to it, because one, and I'll start with the one that's more straightforward. When we are looking at pricing, we're looking at what is a good price point for drivers to earn something reasonable, but at the same time for passengers to be able to afford it. And so when we do our algorithms and we look at the things that we look at in the back end, that's how we determine what the price is. And so in some cases it might be cheaper than competition, and in some cases not. So that's like my second point. But I do agree with you that sometimes this is a perception that we're generally, the more affordable option. But then what that does, and sometimes maybe drivers don't realize this, is if there's a perception that this company offers affordable rides, there's more likely to be more people taking or wanting to take these rides, which then means for the drivers, you actually have more demand for your service. So it's not a bad thing. It might appear to be not so great if you're just looking at one ride, but at the end of the day, if you have a full day of offering services, then you'll have made something decent out of it.
Before you take the break, Kagame is asking, please ask her, when a client doesn't pay, why do they ask the driver to pay? What would that mean?
Yeah, that's very interesting because we do not ask. Why would we ask a driver to? Okay.
What would a client not pay?
So
are there instances where clients don't pay?
There are.
And what leads to this?
So I'll give you a recent example. We had protests, right, a couple of weeks back, and some of the errant drivers, basically what they were doing to harass other drivers is they would request for trips. Then the driver comes and either they cancel or they take the trip, and then, they threaten the driver and walk away, so they don't pay. But in such instances, we always compensate. Bolt compensates the driver because we can see that the trip happened and we can see that this, person did not get paid. So it's a bit strange. I think that's something I would want more information about so that we can deal. Yeah.
So they can get in touch with you if they know.
Yes.
If Kagame, if you're a driver and you're on Bolt, then talk to them directly.
Yeah.
Ask that directly. So if I pay a driver and I've paid via M-Pesa.
Yes.
And the driver, it's upon the driver then now to cancel and confirm that I've paid.
Yes.
If the driver doesn't do that, what happens? It has happened to me actually. I kept being charged for a trip that I was sure I'd paid for.
On M-Pesa?
And yes. And the guy had gone. And so later I'm being told, you still have a pending.
That has happened to me as well.
You have a pending trip. And I'm
Not
like.
only pending, you have a short trip and suddenly you're charged a huge amount. And I'm wondering, I know what this trip costs. Why am I being charged this amount? And then it is indicated that you had not paid for the previous. And I'm thinking, which previous one had I not paid for?
That's actually very interesting because the minute you end the trip, and you pay, then there should be a confirmation that you've actually paid for the trip.
So is it a systems glitch?
Maybe this is. I would have to actually just dig a little bit deeper into this because so long as you see on the passenger side that the trip has ended, because sometimes this has happened, and I know it can be a thing if the driver doesn't end the trip, for example, then on our side we don't see that the trip has ended and it's been paid for. But beyond that, maybe that's something, that's a good point to check. So I will check. And the next time we're here, we might.
But then in that case, the driver would not be able to get another ride because
the trip has not ended.
They're still on another trip.
Exactly.
Let's take a break. We'll ask these questions. Yeah, so we are having Bolt on the hot seat this morning, and Linda Ndongo is the general manager for rides for Bolt. Kenya or East Africa? Just Kenya. Just
Kenya.
And she's here to answer those questions. There have been very many questions about, safety, about the drivers and how the drivers behave, when you're riding an Uber and you're riding a Bolt and all the other apps. Now, what is it that you see? So we have asked Bolt to come so we can have this conversation with them. Drivers, we're going to have a conversation as well with drivers just to hear what the complaints are in the market. And also, if you've got an issue, maybe you've used the Bolt before and there's an issue that you'd like to raise. The driver arrived and the guy on the photo in the app is not the guy that I'm seeing. So what happened? How did that happen? All those things, we'll address them shortly. 27 minutes to 9. Keep it here.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hii September, endelea kufurahia na Star Times. Renew your subscription today on the basic bouquet for 750 shillings for aerial decoders. Enjoy lots of fun and adventures on our kiddie channels. Let your favorite stars make your heart flutter on our world-class telenovelas. Renew your subscription on the Smart Bouquet for 1,199 shillings for satellite decoders for unmissable football action on the Carabao Cup, Saudi League, La Liga, and the Bundesliga. Music, movies, documentaries, and lifestyle channels. Download Star Times on app today on Google Play Store or the Apple Store to never miss a moment of your favorite shows. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
It's critical that people pay taxes. But then taxation has to have a limit. When you start overtaxing people beyond certain limit, then this is now we call robbery with violence.
We are all struggling, but we don't show. If you're not doing well, shame on you. But you have to say, I'm broke and I'm struggling. We are not okay until everybody is okay.
We are pretending to have political parties. Why don't we just be honest? And we say, these are the Luhyas, these are the Kambas, these are the Kikuyus, and we find ourselves in Kenya.
You know, with politics and leadership, no matter what you do, there will always be a complaint. There will always be the assumption that you're either stealing or you're not doing things. As a leader, don't fear. If you know you're doing the right thing, you've thought about it, you've got an expert advice, do it, then understand later.
This country, we don't need prayers. Prayers is between you and God. Good governance and thinkers who care about the country and not their stomach.
That's what we need.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Warming up in Nairobi, currently 19, highs of 27 later, in Kakamega 23 right now, highs of 29, highs of 24 in Eldoret. Currently it's partly sunny at 19. It's sunny in Mombasa at 26, sunny in Malindi at 27, sunny in Kisumu at 24, highs of 30, highs of 25 in Nakuru, currently at 19, highs of 26 later in Nyeri, highs of 22 in Johannesburg, currently cloudy at 11. In Kampala, sunny and highs of 28. Highs of 28 later today. Kinshasa, light rain currently at 23. Light, partly sunny, 25 in Lagos, highs of 30. Mostly sunny in Mogadishu, highs of 32. Sunny day in Addis Ababa, highs of 21. Sunny day in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31. In Paris, mostly cloudy, highs of 24. Mostly cloudy in London, highs of 21. Clear skies in New York, highs of 14 later. Mostly cloudy afternoon at 18 in Beijing, highs of 19.
Spice up your life.
Hiya, it's peak traffic hours, so if you're on North Airport Road and you find some traffic in Embakasi, just be patient. You'll find that traffic again as you approach City Cabanas, but then it's clearing up after you get to City Cabanas. You'll find it very busy at Timaradaima because of that interchange there at General Motors that cross something called a roundabout by Kenha. I don't know how they call that, an interchange. Anyway, as you head towards town, you will then find traffic in South Sea, heading towards Popo Road and then into South Sea, but then it goes all the way to Nyayo Stadium roundabout. From Nyayo Stadium roundabout, you'll find it going into Bunyala roundabout, and it's busy all the way up Railways Bridge into town. Also, Douglas Wakehore Road is busy. Langata Road has been busy as you approach Wilson Airport, but it's cleared now. It's just as you approach T-Mall Junction that it gets busy, and then it's up Magathi where you'll find a bit of traffic. Into City Moche roundabout, you'll find quite some traffic. Heading towards town from Westlands, you'll find traffic in as you approach the roundabout in Westlands, the former roundabout in Westlands. That's at the Mall Westlands. But then the traffic begins at the Muga Green and Brookside Grove Junction. If you get to James Kishuru Road from town at ABC Place, you'll find some traffic out. You'll also find traffic out on Red Hill Road and Lower Kabete.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Bolt rides in Bolt, Kenya. We are talking about concerns that have been raised, several times by passengers. Today, we address more of the passenger concerns. So, if you order a ride and it tells you driver so-and-so driving this vehicle and this registration number is about to arrive, and then the person comes there and either the vehicle is different or the person that has come in there is different, how would that happen? What leads to that?
So it could happen in the case where, say, again, let me use myself as an example. I'm a driver and my car has broken down. So I say to CT, my friend, hey, lend me your car. Let me, go take this quick trip and then I'll come back. That's what we see is usually the cause of this. But nevertheless, it's not advisable to take a trip where the driver doesn't match what's on the app, where the car doesn't match what's on the app, because you never know, right? This person, I could have stolen City's car.
Yeah.
And so then you'll be a conduit to a crime. And that's why we're very insistent on, just make sure that the person that you see is the same person on the app. In fact, we recommend when you're getting in, call the driver by name. Because typically human behavior, if someone calls you by name, you will turn, right? Because it's your name. If it's not your name, if I call you CT, you won't turn. CT will turn. So these are some of the checks and balances to just make sure that we're also keeping ourselves safe. Because at the end of the day, people are people.
Yeah.
And we also, reinforce and reiterate to drivers that please don't show up with a vehicle that's not on the platform. You can change your vehicle on the platform. If my car is broken down and I actually genuinely need to borrow CT's car, I can borrow CT's car and put those details if he allows me. So then I show up in the right car. So for us, it's a big safety risk when this happens. And we really encourage, passengers to, one, don't take the trip. And two, if you can, say that this person showed up in a different car. Because for us, that's a really big no-no.
What would you do if I actually reported that I ordered for this car, you told me this vehicle is coming, but the person who has come is not this vehicle, or is not the person?
Right.
If I reported that, what do you do?
So it depends. If the person was not, if it was a different person, right? If it was showing person A, but then person B showed up. So for us, that's already an impersonation on our back end. So this account is going to be on hold until that person, the owner of the account, actually shows up and tells us, hey, who was this? Was it you, in a hat, so you are not recognizable? Or, was it your brother that you had sent? They need to come and explain what happened.
By coming, what do you mean?
Come to the DEC, to the Driver Engagement Center.
So
they get a message, yes, because we need to actually verify, are you the right person? Because that's a big deal if it's a different person. If it's a car, then the car is blocked from that account. And so this person needs to upload the correct vehicle before they show up for another trip.
Okay.
Yes.
But why not block both?
What do you mean block both? So let me maybe clarify a little bit. If you don't have a car, you can't offer a ride.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can go online, basically.
Okay.
Yes, but as soon as the thing is, when only the car is blocked, you, as a driver, have control because you just need to get the right car back on, right? But if we block you as a person, then you have to show up. So ultimately...
I get that, Linda. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
That you matched CT.
Yes.
With his car KDD, whatever, to come and pick me up.
Yes.
Then CT showed up, but he came with a car KCC.
Yes.
You want to block the car.
Yeah.
But the guy who drove the car is CT. You're allowing him to continue riding.
So that's what I was clarifying. He cannot because he has no vehicle. So the way our system works...
He may come with a KDD.
Oh, I see what you mean. But no, he will not, because he would have to use somebody else's account. So basically, if you're a driver, you have two sets of
accounts.
Yes, within our system.
Okay.
And both have to be active for you using your profile to offer the service. So if the car part of the account is blocked, if it's CT, right? If his car is blocked, our system is showing that he has no car, he can't go online. So on the driver app, he can't go online. And so by extension, he can't receive trips. So the only way he would be able to continue is now if he borrows someone's account, which now is impersonation, which takes him back to where he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the bottom line here is if I report such a serious incident, action is taken on the spot.
On the spot.
Right there and then.
Yes.
So this person then does not do the same to the next.
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you get into a ride, because this is one of why do drivers ask customers to add cash, right, above what the app has said? And that's the other side that the earlier question had been asked, that you get onto the vehicle and the driver's asking you, wamekuambia ni ngapi? Ama tunaenda wapi? Why can't you show the driver what you're showing me?
So we do show. I will say that sometimes there's a bit of women in the market, right? And we all do different things.
Yes.
Ourselves as Bolt,
So
you will
Bolt
see.
always shows the driver.
The driver will see what the trip price is. They will see where the person
destination?
is going.
Okay.
Yes. I know some other apps do not show this. And so when you use them, the driver will call you and ask you, unaenda wapi na imeonyesha ngapi. But for us, it's there.
Okay.
So a driver has really, they shouldn't be asking you that because they can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the other bit, when you get into a vehicle and you're driving and at the end of the trip, they say, the guy is like, niongezee mia. Hii hata umeona tumekaa sana. Watu hizi hapo wanakula pesa zetu sana. Sasa hii pesa ngapi? Sasa kukuambia 250,000. What do you do? I mean,
again, we're many in the market, and sometimes because I've had this before, and when when you probe a little further, you find, oh, actually, it was on somebody XYZ, because ours is a dynamic pricing model. I do know that for others, what you see, which showed you 350 as a passenger at the beginning of the trip, that's what it's going to be at the end of the trip. Ours will change. If you're in traffic, it will move from 350 to 420, whatever it is, right? It will adjust. And so, but then we all end up kind of being thrown in the same bucket. That's one. The second thing is that, just generally speaking, everyone appreciates having more money. I think we're also alive to that fact. So sometimes people want a tip because then, they can have more cash in hand, which happens, I think.
There's a problem that we've heard over and over again, and it's this one which revolves around discounts. And the complaint that discounts are given to customers and drivers have no knowledge of it at all. So which means they end up, according to them, they end up getting less. So, I mean, in my mind I was asking, so if you're told about the discount, then what would happen? But that now is a facetious point that I'm making. Talk again about this matter of discount and how it is that it relates to drivers, because essentially the implication is that when there's a discount, they will earn less.
Let me actually read a direct question. Mika Njogu says, I'm a driver and I don't accept discount. You must pay me the whole sum that displayed on my phone when accepting a trip. I will not go for 35 kilometers. Then you start telling me, collect 80 bob.
All right. I mean, that's...
So how does the discount thing work?
Okay. If we were to use an example, okay, let me actually take a step back. All discounts are covered by the company.
Okay.
That is the bottom line. But sometimes, to the question that has been raised, what you collect, right? Because it's a net. And to just like use a very simple example, if the trip was 100 shillings, then we as Bolt, our commission is 18 shillings, right? And the driver has made 82 shillings. Now, if there was a discount, and say the discount was 10 shillings, we could do one of two things, right? The driver could, take their 82 shillings, then give us 18 shillings, and then we give them back 10 shillings. Or we could just say, you know what, the driver is supposed to pay 18 shillings, and we have the discount of 10 shillings. So the net that goes to the driver is 8 shillings. Instead of having 5 transactions, you have 2 or 1. So that's typically what happens. So just looking at who owes what, and kind of the person who owes more at the end gives the other person.
It's like a float cash conversation.
It is a float cash conversation.
And the float cash conversation is happening between the driver and and the company in this case.
Yes.
So in this particular case,
yes,
Bolt has absorbed the discount that it gave me.
Yes.
So if the discount was 10 bob,
yes,
Bolt here is owed 8 bob.
Correct.
100 bob.
Correct.
Right? But I have paid 90 shillings to the driver, and well, let's say even it was higher than this. So if the discount was more than the 10 bob, so the driver ends up now receiving cash less than what the trip had indicated to be.
Yes.
But now you will do your own math at the end of the day.
Yes.
To balance it out.
Yes.
And in the end, the driver will not lose.
They will not lose, because the other now complexity maybe is not all trips have a discount, right? Because it's when you take, say, 10 trips as a driver, maybe only 1 or 2 of those trips will have a discount. So even if the net of that one trip was, lower than what you anticipated as a driver, the rest will not have discounts. So then you still have your money. And at the end of the day, because we're a cash market, we're a cash economy, the driver ends up usually having more cash in hand. And so they still have to give us money at the end of the day. So that's how it's compounded. And that's why I think the discount conversation is always an ongoing conversation, because it depends on what is the angle you're taking. Are you just looking at one trip with one discount? Are you looking at the entire day with the 10 trips that you took? Yeah.
I think you need to have a conversation with Nelson Andiba, who is insisting, you know what, no. I will not take 150 for a trip that was going to be 300 shillings. So he's just not seeing that he will make the money that he was supposed to have made at the end of the day, that the app will ensure that he does this. But this is now the app assuming that Nelson will be on for the next X number of hours.
That is
Maybe
true.
this was his final trip. What happens if this was his final trip of the day? What happens tomorrow? Or do we start afresh?
So it's continuous, right? Because I would say if it's a final trip of the day, he took other trips.
Yeah.
Which most likely did not have the discount.
So there were card and cash.
Yes.
Yeah.
And tomorrow we continue, because it's a continuous business, right? And that's why for me, it's always good to have this conversation. But I think the bottom line is all discounts are covered by the company. It could be a cash flow thing. And now if it's a cash flow thing, then maybe we can talk through how can, we meet each other halfway, right? And these are conversations maybe we need to have directly with the driver partners, so that then if the sentiment is, I want to get that, if we go back to our example, I want to get my full amount, and then whatever it is that
from the card,
I owe you,
from the card money that you are holding,
yes,
you deduct it on that end,
or something like this. Yes. So these are conversations that we can have that are operational, right? Because I do understand the need for cash flow, and I do understand that sometimes you want to get what you sow. So this is something that we are open to continue having a conversation about and see what works. Another thing that I think that we should all be cognizant of is the more transactions we do. If I give you money, then you give me back, then I give you back, there's a cost attached. Yeah, because either we're going to pay Cellulant or M-Pesa or whoever. There's a transaction cost that has to be paid by somebody. So these are all the things that we need to work out. But ultimately, I would say it's a conversation that we can continue having, so that we try and meet the drivers halfway.
Whenever I read the comments that are on social media regarding ride-hailing apps, what strikes me is that there is an expectation
yes,
that they have, and the expectation is not being met. So even as you speak, you are heard through the earphones of that expectation. If you write it, it is read through the lenses of that expectation.
Yeah.
Have you had situations where, when you meet, consult, educate, sensitize your partners, the drivers, when you give them an opportunity to tell you what they expect, so that there's a clear understanding that this is what you may expect, but just so that we reiterate it again. We, as a company, this is how we go about our business. Meaning, if you're going to engage with us, please understand this is how we do the business.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
So we've understood your expectations.
Yes.
But find a way of fitting your expectations into how we run the business.
Yes.
Let it not be acrimonious.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we do it all the time. And I must say, at this point, it's a thing of, if I give an outside of ride-hailing example, if I have a good experience, I went to a supermarket, I bought my stuff, it was nice, I'm happy. Chances are I won't tell anyone. If I went to the supermarket and, I don't know, the guy who was packing my thing took one packet of milk, I am going to take it everywhere on social media. And so we kind of see the same thing here. And this is me just trying to say that there's a big chunk of our driver community that actually understands how this works, and they appreciate what it does for them. Because while on the flip side, I'm saying that everyone appreciates having cash in hand, some people actually want to manage their debt. And this system helps them to manage their debt and to just get actually what is theirs, right? There's a good proportion of drivers who have that. And then there's the others who maybe don't like it for whatever reason, and they tend to be the loudest in the room. So we do, anyway, to City's point, reiterate and try and make it as clear as possible. This is how we work. This is why we work the way we work. Because at the end of the day, we think that it's the most effective, cost-effective way for us to do it for both parties. But, you know, we always remain open to, okay, let's see if we can help to manage the expectation that you have, or maybe meet it to some extent, if there's somewhere where we're falling short.
Linda, how many drivers do you have on board on the app, right?
Right now, maybe I would say 30,000.
So 30,000 drivers.
Drivers and couriers.
And couriers.
Yep.
How many rides per day?
I can't tell you that because then people out there will be able to quickly calculate.
In terms of like, you know, how many, if you look at an average number of rides per week, right? Would it, is that something you can say?
Let's just say there are many.
So out of all these many rides and the very many drivers on board, how many complaints do you receive in a week?
In percentage?
Yes.
You'd be surprised.
Percentage of the rides?
Right now, probably less than 10.
Less than 10%?
Yes.
Okay. 10% is many, actually. If you're talking about 30,000, you're talking about 3,000 people complaining. Those are many people. How then do you mitigate? How then do you, communicate that you've listened, understood, and you've acted upon if there's a requirement for acting upon? And how then do you reduce it? Or, let me ask it differently. What is the highest percentage of complaints you've received, and what is the lowest?
And maybe we should break this down a little bit, because when I say complaints, it's everything. It's the entire bucket.
It's communication.
Yes. It's feedback that we're receiving.
Yes.
And typically feedback is, I didn't like this, please fix this, something went wrong. So I'm giving you the entire bucket of feedback. And what we do is that we look at this feedback. There's a whole team actually that's focused. This is what they wake up to do. What was the issue? How can we resolve it? How can we make sure that it doesn't happen again? And so I will tell you the trend over time it's been declining, and we've been seeing fewer complaints. I wouldn't even call them complaints, because sometimes, to be fair, it's something legitimate.
It's issues arising.
Yes. And so when we resolve the issues, then the percentages of this kind of concerns being raised or feedback being given, it goes down.
Where does the majority of these issues come from? Is it from the drivers or from the customers?
Drivers.
From customers.
But it's understandable, because drivers are our key stakeholder. They're the ones we engage with. They're the ones.
Directly.
Exactly. So, and we like the feedback, because, for example, if someone is saying to us, today there was, I tried to transfer my money and it didn't go through, then that's something we can work on with our service provider. And for us, that's a complaint, right? It's something actionable. It could have been a system break, but then we fix it. So we do like that kind of feedback. But I always encourage feedback that is actionable, because saying that, I had a bad day, like, I'm really sorry you had a bad day, but how can I help? So then if we get feedback that's actionable and saying that this broke or this happened to me or the system didn't work.
Rides.
Exactly, I didn't get rides. Is there something wrong?
Yeah.
Then we're able to action.
Many of the 30,000 drivers are drivers who stay on the app.
Yes.
They are not dropping off.
Yes.
And many drivers actually stay on, like you explained to us last time, unless you have taken action to either suspend them,
yes,
or remove them from the app, or they have opted to move into other things, other business, and they move on.
Yes.
So you have very many drivers who are still actively using the app,
yes,
on a daily basis.
Yes.
And you're addressing their concerns on a daily basis.
Yes.
You have many customers who are actively using the app,
yes,
on a daily basis, and raising rides on a daily basis.
Yes.
So the perception is something that just is a perception.
It really is. It really is.
And it's about all ride-hailing apps.
It is.
Would I be right to say, because there's a comment here that has said, stop fixing taxi prices and you don't own the cars?
So you see, that goes back to, these conversations we've been having about what is this model? How does it work? Why do we do what we do, So it's I think to your point, it's a perception issue. And this is why we're here, to try and demystify some of these things and to help the public understand how we work, the way we work.
We'll invite the drivers now and the customer.
Yeah.
And we'll open up the phone lines. Maybe we can do that next week.
Yes.
Right? Now that we've said it's a Wednesday, Bolt on the Hot Seat.
Yes.
So Bolt on the Hot Seat for next week on Wednesday is going to be, let's hear from the customers, people who like the app, people who don't like the app, people who have concerns. Let's hear from them. And maybe you can get the feedback from wherever you'll be.
That's fantastic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Linda Ndongo is the General Manager for Rides at Bolt Kenya. She's been our guest. Bolt on the Hot Seat, 9 a.m. Good morning.
It's now 9 o'clock with Safaricom. Go monthly with an all-in-one bundle and enjoy convenience and value with Safaricom. For just 2,000 bob a month, enjoy 17 GB data, 1,000 minutes, 2,000 SMSs, and free WhatsApp. Go monthly. Dial star 544 hash and select Go monthly. Safaricom is for you.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm La Ubaga. A 3-judge bench is currently making a ruling on whether it will issue orders blocking DP Rigathi Gashagwa from appearing at the Senate for his impeachment hearing. This comes even as Justice Chacha Mwita declined to issue an order on the same. Let's hear to what the court is saying.
Proceedings against the first petitioner in this case before the National Assembly and the Senate. Likewise, the applications subject of this ruling also challenge the very pending impeachment proceedings. Learned Senior Counsel Mr. Paul Mute urged this court to nevertheless deal with the instant applications for the main reason that this court, as constituted, is an expanded multi-judge bench of the High Court as opposed to the ordinary single bench.
Well, we'll keep you posted as they continue to make that ruling. And a section of community health promoters in Siaya County are yet to receive their monthly stipend under the Universal Health Coverage program inaugurated by President William Ruto in 2023. Under the UHC program, the CHPs were supposed to be getting a monthly stipend, which is to jointly paid by the national and county governments alongside provision of health insurance covered to them. However, months after the launch of the program, a section of CHPs are yet to receive their stipend. This event comes as, in connection with the DP Rigathi Gashagwa, security has been heightened along Parliament Road and has been closed ahead of the Senate impeachment trial against DP Gashagwa. The National Assembly is set to present witnesses today. This event comes as any time time from now, the Senate will be having a briefing on how the sessions will take place, even as they tell us about the closed-door session, which will take place from 9 to 10 o'clock before the hearing begins, determining on what the court will say. Now, Treasury CS Badi says that Kenyans have failed to understand the public-private partnership between the government and Adani Group, terming the deal as a savior to the struggling Kenya Airports Authority. Speaking on SpiceFM, Badi, however, said that Adani should only be questioned if they are not a viable company for the agreement.
Very few countries have actually financed construction or development of the airports through exchequer. It is done through this kind of initiative. Okay. Now, we need to support it. If the evaluation finds Adani is not the right, then we need to get someone else with the capacity to do it. But when I listen to people, sometimes I ask myself, so what is the worst that can happen to us with this Adani, especially for the airport? We are not giving them money. So they come. If they have corrupted some people in the system, the only problem is that the cost will be a little higher. If there is an agreement with Adani that every year this is what you will be giving, and that money is more than the money that KAA makes, and the airport will be done, and it will be efficient, and it will make Kenya a competitive country in the region. It will remain the hub that it is. If that can come through whatever name you call that person, it is the problem.
And Badi, when asked to address the issue of visibility on how the PPP contract was reached out with Adani, he said that 22 issues had also been raised by the PPP contracting committee.
The problem is that we have not been communicating to Kenyans. I have looked at the documentation around this Adani and the airport. All the questions that Kenyans are raising have been raised by the PPP committee. 22 issues raised. A lot of it is around the costing, a lot of it around staff. How are we going to transit the staff of the Kenya Airports Authority working at the JKIA? And many, many other issues on sharing of revenue. There's still negotiation. The only thing is that Kenyans, I think, feel it was being done in a secret manner. But you see, the government is also arguing, and I belong to government, and our argument has been that we had not reached a point where it was necessary to communicate with the public.
And finally, Austin Odor, the Reverend Gor Mahia legend and former Harambee Stars defender, is dead. Odor collapsed and died at his home in Mumias. He is famed for captaining Gor Mahia in the heroic season of 1987 and leading the team to winning the Nelson Mandela Cup. That's the Newswire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's still peak traffic hour. So we had an issue earlier on Lower Kabete Road, which was looking very busy, but imagine it's cleared. We also had issues on Red Hill Link Road, getting towards ABC Place. It is still there, just getting towards ABC Place. James Kishoro is clear now, heading towards town. Also, Wayaki, we're heading towards town, is also quite busy right now as you approach the Westlands roundabout and the junction with Ring Road Parklands and Ring Road Westlands. That's busy. We had an issue with heading into Museum Hill from Wangari Maathai. Wangari Maathai is now clear, but coming into Museum Hill, especially heading towards Westlands, is still busy. Coming to town from Mombasa Road, you will find traffic at the Nyayo Stadium roundabout and at Bunyala and then at Railways Bridge, and thereafter it clears. And if you look at Langata Road, it's now looking okay. Jogoo Road is now looking all right. And even North Airport Road is now looking much better. How is Thika Superhighway looking? It's actually also looking much better. Traffic starts at Survey heading towards town. Kiambu Road is good. So things are getting better.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's 7 minutes after 9. Thank you very much for joining us. And to the final hour of the Situation Room this Wednesday morning. It's the 16th day of October 2024. The Aga Khan University Hospital reminds you that, yes, we have a main hospital. We have 53 specialty clinics in various parts of the city and the country. And those are now 54 Aga Khans, okay? On top of that, we have Aga Khan at home. So the home-based care, you come to hospital, we treat you, you're discharged, you're told, all right, so you'll need to be coming for clinics and reviews and all this and the other. You don't have to be staying in hospital. You don't have also to be coming to the facilities. We can come to you, all right? That makes it much easier. So you have a visitation that's scheduled with your specialist doctor on a certain day, or with a physiotherapist on another day, or with... They will actually send that person to your home. So in between, you're enjoying the love of your family as you recuperate. Also, at some point, they may say, we need to conduct some tests to see how things are doing. They'll actually send a lab to you to come and pick those samples. They'll take them to the lab. They will be able to run the tests, upload the results on your patient portal, and also send you the results on your email. So the next time the doctor comes to visit you, they have access to the results, and you also have access to the results. So you're discussing. So they came, I told them to do this kind of test. They did them, and I can see the results. We are actually doing much better, and you are on your way to recovery. All this happening with you at home. Not you going to hospital, you had an appointment for 3 p.m., the 2 p.m. person came at 2:30, so your 3 o'clock has also now been pushed to 3:30. Those things. Tumemalizana hiyo story. Aga Khan University Hospital says, yoyote, that's so last century. We're on to the next century. Charles Dechai is a man with a lot of grey on his head and face. That message, you're looking at me like, yes, it applies to all of us.
It does, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Karibu sana, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Eric. Good to be here.
Karibu tena.
Asante sana.
He's the former chairman of the Chairperson.
Yes.
Not man.
No, the Constitution...
Called it person.
Okay. Quite rightly, I think.
Chairperson of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution. After Kibaki did this, akaweka katiba chini heavy. The next thing was to bring that katiba to life. And it needed pieces of legislation to be brought to life. And your commission was tasked with doing that. And then forwarding those to Parliament for processing and for passing an enactment. So many of the laws that we have as a result of the Constitution went through your hands.
Indeed.
And even the Constitution itself now, of course, because you are looking at what needs to be done, you understand it very well.
Reasonably well.
Reasonably very well.
No, I actually, on a serious note, I say reasonably because with the passage of time and every time that there's some new part of the Constitution to be interrogated, you realize that perhaps you didn't understand it as well as you may have thought.
The understanding is enriched with time.
Well, yes. I think when the Constitution is, when life is breathed into the Constitution, you then see things that you couldn't have seen before life was breathed into it.
Absolutely.
Before you action it, there are things you can't possibly see. You can be as imaginative as you wish, but your imagination will not stretch that far.
Yes.
True. City, welcome him with the day's proverb.
Yes, our proverbs for last week, this week, and next week are from the area of this particular continent referred to as the Maghreb. And we are looking at proverbs from the People's Democratic Republic of Algeria. I don't know why it is they have to keep insisting they're democratic. But anyway, that's a story for another day. There is an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility.
There's an excess of familiarity at the root of all hostility. What's your interpretation of this one, Charles?
Actually, it makes a lot of sense because you're unlikely to get hostility unless you interact quite closely with either with people or with the situation. If you keep a distance, you're probably likely to avoid the hostility. I think that's what how I would understand it. Yes.
True.
Yep,
it makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. Something is happening. I don't know whether it's out of familiarity that now we are seeing the hostility. There's an impeachment going on at the national level. There was an impeachment that was just starting to go on at the county level, Kericho.
Yes.
But county impeachments have just become part of our culture now. We see governor, deputy governor being impeached. Constantly. We are used to this. It's the first time that we're seeing an impeachment at the national level. And we've seen the drama that has come with it. A lot of drama. A lot of drama before the bill was published. A motion was taken to Parliament. A lot of drama at that point, even before Parliament started discussing it, public participation, this and the other. A lot of drama in the National Assembly. A lot of drama in the courts. A lot of drama in the public domain. There's a lot of drama. I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and they said, this is our constitution at play. We had a conversation here with Professor Peter Kawanja yesterday, and said, Kenya Sihami, this is a democracy that we fought for. This is it. What do you say?
Okay, at the very onset, what I think I would want to say, and I think that will probably apply to what I predict we will discuss throughout the 1 hour or whatever that I'm here. And that is that there is a part of the implementation of this constitution which we, the collective we as a country, to date, and we're now talking approaching 15 years since the promulgation of the Constitution, and approaching 10 years since the implementation period contemplated in the Constitution elapsed, and that is the inculcation of a culture of constitutionalism. I think we have a good constitution. I think in terms of laws, regulations, and so on, we and when I say we, I'm talking about everybody who has been involved, from the citizen, the commission, parliament, the executive, everybody who has been involved. I think as far as legislation and regulations to implement the constitution, I think we did a reasonably good job. Not perfect, and I think the ongoing process has shown areas where we also fell short as far as legislation is concerned, but where we actually have totally not succeeded to date, as I'm seated here speaking to you, is inculcating a culture of constitutionalism. From where I sit, the main reason that we haven't done that is because government at both levels, who have the constitutional and legal responsibility to civically educate the citizenry, haven't done so for whatever reason. It's very difficult to inculcate a culture of constitutionalism to a citizenry that does not have the basics or the basic understanding of what the Constitution is about. Yeah.
So we are at that
the drama to me is inevitable because like the ongoing impeachment at the national government level, it's the first time that we are having that. I mean, this is high profile.
Yeah.
that is inevitable. But when you go to the counties, one of the challenges again is because I am not sure that everybody who is in that process understands, what is expected of them, what the dynamics are, what the relationships between the various constitutional offices are, and that's why you end up with the drama. And even you look at the debate such as it was that went on in the National Assembly last week. You listened to the members exercising that constitutional responsibility. You're not entirely persuaded that they are all on the same page insofar as what the responsibility is. It's inevitable to a certain extent.
So the latest that's what's happening now is that the Senate has already started sitting. And just before that, we were seeing the High Court, the three-judge bench of the High Court, Eric Ogola, Frida Mugambi, and Anthony Mrima, declined to block the Senate from hearing the impeachment motion. That was the application by the Deputy President, Gashagwa.
Yeah.
The judges had said, come tomorrow morning and we will tell you. So they've said, we have considered everything that was presented to us and all the submissions made, and no, we will not stop the Senate from hearing.
Let me say that, I haven't heard what the three-judge bench have said, but from the end result that you have just, as you have just stated, my expectation is that the argument is pretty much along the lines of the ruling of Justice Chachamuita yesterday, which with respect to the learned judge, I fully agreed with his argument. Because one, he said quite correctly, in my view, that the court does have the jurisdiction. That was the first
issue.
Yeah. And yes, it has jurisdiction, in my view, because this process, there's been a lot of statements by learned analysts, even lawyers who say this is a political process, it is not a constitutional process. To the extent that they are saying political process in contradistinction to a constitutional process, I must disagree with that. Why? Because the very concept of impeachment comes from the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The process is laid out in the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Now, I agree that there are political underpinnings in that process, but at the bottom is it's a constitutional process. And that constitutional process means that the courts, because it is to them that Wanjiko has delegated judicial authority to interpret and to enforce the Constitution, so they must have jurisdiction. Now, the second part of what I think both courts, yesterday and today, are saying is that, look, the Constitution has given certain responsibility to Parliament, the two houses. We must respect that. We must give them an opportunity to discharge that responsibility. But because we as court have the responsibility to interpret and enforce the Constitution, therefore we are watchdogs as far as the process of the Constitution is concerned. Let the process go on. If you still feel that
if there are issues that emerge,
yes, please come back.
Come back.
Yes.
If there are emerging issues,
if there are
in the process.
Yes.
Okay. Now there are those that then have said, in is as far as Parliament is conducting it's going through its motions, it must also follow the dictates of the Constitution and the law. The dictates of the Constitution, it's expected to have, public participation. Very well done. It's expected that you're going to accord the Deputy President a right to response. It's expected that you're going to accord, if it goes to the Senate, both sides time to express their issues. And the expectation is that the Senate is going to consider only the grounds that are listed in the Constitution to make its decision.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, is that reality?
Is that reality?
Yeah. But even from what we've seen in the other impeachments.
But the Senate has only just, it's probably just beginning now. So it's a bit difficult to answer that question, whether it's reality. Because remember, the Senate has a responsibility to decide on every one of those grounds.
Yes.
And unless they fail to do so, then at this stage, honestly, we cannot fault them.
This is based on the fact that the Senate is not new to impeachment.
Yes.
The National Assembly is.
Yes.
The Senate has handled impeachments before.
Yes.
It has handled impeachments of the governors and deputy governors, right? And from what we have seen before, have all decisions been made strictly in adherence to, we are looking at the charge versus the marking scheme here, which is the Constitution. Gross violation of the Constitution. Does this charge really amount to gross violation of the Constitution? And the debate in the Senate before they take a vote is focusing on the truth of the Constitution. Would you say that in all the impeachments that you've seen going through the Senate, they have really been looking at, the grounds as stipulated in the Constitution and nothing else?
You see, what the Senate is going to do today and tomorrow, is basically a quasi-judicial process, But the big difference between that and what a judicial process that happens in the courts is that at the end of a judicial process in the courts, you get a reasoned ruling or a reasoned judgment. So you can look and say, on what basis did you decide this?
Exactly.
But the Constitution has given members of Parliament that delegated responsibility. Remember, if we focus on what is happening today and tomorrow, remember that they are dealing with a person or an office that was elected directly by the people. So the Constitution then says, part of the delegated responsibility that the people are giving you, Parliament, both houses, is you can remove this person by a process of impeachment. But the delegated authority is limited to, you can only do that, not because you don't like the color of his hair or because you don't like his height. You can only do that on these grounds. We are talking about violation of a provision of the Constitution or any law. We are talking about
gross misconduct.
Gross misconduct. And we are talking about a reasonable apprehension or a reasonable basis to believe that the person has committed an offense of national law or international law. So the Constitution is saying you must
restrict yourselves to this.
To that. Now, here's the challenge. To make my point, let me give you an example. My member of Parliament, who voted last week in the National Assembly, on my behalf and on behalf of all the
constituents,
when my particular member of parliament did not participate in the discussion or in the contributions.
They didn't stand up to speak.
And he wasn't obliged to. Mm-hmm. He has two responsibilities. One is to listen so that he hears what the mover of the motion is complaining about. Mm-hmm. And he also hears the subject of the motion, that is, in this case, the deputy president. Those are his responsibilities. He was not obliged to speak. Now, at the end of it, he was obliged, and he did vote. Now, me, who has given him that delegated authority, in all honesty, I cannot tell you what in particular caused him to vote the way he did. But I can't fault him, because he has done what the delegated authority that I have given to him, he has exercised it.
The threshold has been met.
According to him, the threshold has been met. Basically, I gave him a blank check. The only limitation to that blank check are the guardrails that the Constitution puts, especially like in terms of procedure. But how am I ever going to know
whether he even interrogated and went?
Yeah, or how he decided that there is reasonable basis to believe that the deputy president has committed a crime or has violated a provision of the Constitution. You see? Now, that comes with the fact that and that's why I call it basically that the subject to those procedural guardrails where the court would then come in. But as far as the actual decision making is concerned of the content, we have given them that.
So he basically has the power and authority to vote
on my behalf.
On your behalf.
Yes.
But Chapter 10 expects him to come and ask you at some point.
Well,
Article 10. Is it Chapter 10 article?
No, it's not Chapter 10. the Constitution.
In many places,
the Constitution expects him and Parliament as an institution to. I think if I remember correctly, the wording in the Constitution is to facilitate public participation. But that's another area where we, who have been involved in the implementation of the Constitution, fell short because we don't have a law on public participation. The courts, when they have had the opportunity, they have they have pronounced themselves to a certain extent on public participation, but only to a certain extent, which is contextual in terms of the particular matter that they are dealing with. So one of the things that I hope will come out of all this process, irrespective of whether the deputy president is impeached or is not impeached, in fact, for me, as an old school lawyer of the common law tradition, I would be very happy if this matter went right through the courts up to the Supreme Court, so that we get some guidance from the Supreme Court on some of these very fundamental issues that touch on the process of impeachment. Like, what does public participation in this context mean?
Yeah.
Does my MP have to listen to the 30,000 or 50,000 registered voters in the constituency and decide on the basis of... Remembering that as a member of parliament, there is authority which we have already delegated to him.
To do the work. Let's take a break. 27 minutes to 10. Charles Nchai, former chairperson of the Commission for the Implementation of the Constitution, is our guest as we are looking at what's happening. So, hearings in the Senate begin. The three-judge bench of the High Court has declined to hold proceedings on the impeachment of the Deputy President, Gashagwa, saying that process needs to go on in the Senate. The Deputy President has then applied to come and see them on Friday after that process is completed in the Senate. Well, we want to understand the various aspects of the Constitution, and that's why we have this Mzee here to explain them to us. For example, when does the President then appoint the next DP? We have those timelines. What does he need to do to consider the next DP? And so on and so forth. Keep it here.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your
Save money on your rising electricity bill with StarTime Solar Home Solution. We offer a complete home and commercial energy saving system that includes solar panels with 15-year warranty, lithium battery with 10 years warranty, and an inverter with 5 years warranty. StarTime Solar Home Solution is efficient, reliable, and safe to power essential appliances, complete home lighting, refrigerators, air conditioners, washing machines, microwaves, iron box, instant shower, and entertainment devices, television, computers, Wi-Fi, and so much more. Say yes to reduced electricity bills and call us today on 0719 077 777 and get started on your green energy journey today. StarTime Solar. Power your life.
Patrick Lodge, Otieno Lumumba. Karibu sana.
Asante sana.
CT Muga. Opposite. Ukisikiliza namna hii unasikia opposite.
The Situation Room. Spice. The only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
It's warming up in Nairobi, 27, mostly sunny. That's going to be the high today, but it's currently 20. Highs of 29 in Kakamega, highs of 24 in Eldoret, highs of 26 in Nyeri, 25 in Nakuru, 30 in Kisumu, 30 in Malindi, Mombasa 31, Kampala 28, Johannesburg 21, 30 in Lagos, 32 in Mogadishu, 21 in Addis Ababa, 31 in Dar es Salaam, 28 in Kinshasa. Paris, sunny right now, but highs of 24 later, highs of 21 in London, highs of 14 in New York when they wake up, highs of 19 in Beijing. They've already passed that high. They are now starting to cool off, getting into the late afternoon. It's 18. The temperatures will drop in Beijing later tonight to 13.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So the three-judge bench of the High Court has declined to hold proceedings against the Deputy President in the Senate. So that will go on. Now, what we had seen earlier is even from many commentators saying, advising the DP, before the Senate begins the process of the impeachment, resign. Because if you don't, whatever decision they make, if they vote to uphold the impeachment and you go home, then you'll never hold public office. Is that true?
That's my understanding of the Constitution, that if the DP is impeached, indeed, anybody who is impeached, remember that at the end of the process, if the Senate approves the grounds on which the impeachment is sought, that means he'll have been found guilty of violation of the Constitution, among other things.
Yeah.
Yes. My reading of the Constitution is that he then cannot hold public office after that.
Ever again?
That's my reading.
And by public office, what do we mean? Here is where we come with the distinctions between public officer and state officer. What does it mean?
Oh, state officers are just a higher...
Notified public officers.
A higher category of public officers. Higher in the sense that the Constitution defines them and makes provision for statute to add to those who are state officers, and the particularly, you know, when you're dealing with like Chapter 6 and so on, the expectations for them are higher. So
public office it cannot even serve as a DO.
That's my reading.
Cannot even be a clerk in an election, an IEBC clerk.
To the extent that that is a public office, yes.
Hey. You know, when you defined the culture of constitutionality,
yes.
You know, my mind started thinking. And I started with just the understanding of the word culture, sum total of a people's way of life. So it looks like we have an anomaly here. This culture that you speak of is more of a non-culture than a culture in this sense. There needs to be a commonality of understanding. And if I look at, say, for instance, those who have studied the law and practice it like yourself, those who adjudicate like our judges, citizens like myself, what they understand the Constitution to be is not uniform. What they understand the Constitution to mean, whether the letter of it, the application of it, the spirit of it is not the same. So the culture of constitutionality, as you put it, is a good point of discussion, but only insofar as that it's a contradiction of terms when you look at how it is that it works.
You know, if you look at more advanced democracies,
yes,
I remember when I was a law student many years ago, one of the first things that we were taught when studying constitutional law is about the absence then of a written constitution in the United Kingdom. But there is a culture of constitutionalism without a written constitution, because everybody understands this is the way that we have agreed. Remember, a constitution is two things. It is a contract of sorts between the those who govern and those who are governed. And it is also a contract between you and I as
citizens.
Citizens. Now, that means that when we talk about a culture of constitutionalism, is that yes, we have a constitution, and yes, we have a provision. In our case, if you look at the first 3 articles of the constitution, we bind ourselves to defend the constitution. Now, what is it in our day-to-day life that makes us actually abide by that constitution? It's that culture when it's there. But as I said earlier on, in the absence of civic education, and that should answer your question, then people don't even know what the fundamentals of the constitution are. It's going to be very difficult for them to in themselves to inculcate a culture of something that they don't have a basic understanding of.
So arguably we're in the process of creating it. And when you have situations such as the one we have in the public domain, we see it being operationalized, and you get to understand that this culture, or rather this constitution and the tenets therein apply to every citizen.
Yes, but we are doing badly as far as that is concerned, because even if you listen and watch what transpired in the National Assembly, and I mean no disrespect, but everybody was all over the place.
They had their own charges.
Everybody had their own charges.
Other relevant laws, and these are the charges that we put under that. Do they meet the threshold? You know, that's the expectation of the Senate.
One would like to think so.
Okay.
But you see,
Do you
we're never going to know for the simple reason that at the end of the day, they simply vote.
Exactly.
You know, they could listen
and ask all
to
those
both
questions.
sides. No, they could listen to both sides. And a member rises and says, let them put the matter to a vote. Because there's no obligation for that. Without that, we are going nowhere.
This question, we've asked this question several times on this show. Does